Chapter 1580. Although Su Zimo had killed the patriarch of Hidden Death sect, his expression turned grimmer, and he did not feel relaxed. The situation was extremely disadvantageous for him now that the Mahayana patriarch had appeared so quickly. If the convention of the myriad races this time round was only a negotiation between conjoint body mighty figures and half-martial ancestors, it would naturally not pose any threat to Qinglian's true body. However, that was impossible. At that moment, there were countless pairs of Mahayana patriarchs staring at Enigma Palace from behind. If the Mahayana patriarchs appeared one after another, Qinglian's true body would not be able to defend against them. Although he could kill the patriarch of Hidden Death sect, it did not mean that he could fight against Mahayana patriarchs head-on. Firstly, cultivators of Hidden Death sect specialized in assassination and were not strong in head-on combat. Secondly, the patriarch of Hidden Death sect had misjudged Su Zimo. He had not expected Su Zimo to be able to see through his tracks. He had not expected Su Zimo to be able to regenerate his flesh as well. A single mistake was enough to determine life and death, let alone two. The patriarch of Hidden Death sect did not die in vain. But now, Su Zimo's trump card of regenerating the flesh of Qinglian's true body had been exposed, and the 108,000 heaven-slaying sword chi was released as well. He did not have many trump cards left. Trump cards that could threaten Mahayana patriarchs were even rarer. If another Mahayana patriarch appeared, it would be difficult for him to defend against them. However, no one could protect Qinglian's true body in the convention of the myriad races. The greatest reliance of Qinglian's true body was the Dragon Phoenix true body and the dragons behind him. However, the Dragon Phoenix true body was still in the brute race's breakthrough to the Mahayana realm. He could only do his best to stall for time and wait for the Dragon Phoenix true body to arrive. If I'm not wrong, that person should be Araki Takashi's brother, the primordial taboo known as Night Spirit Ho. Right then, the sect master of Heavenly Dipper sect stood up and pointed at Night Spirit beside Monkey and said loudly. The Night Spirit did not transform into his true form and remained in human form. Even the primordial races had not noticed him. But now, the sect master of Heavenly Dipper sect exposed the identity of the Night Spirit and attracted the attention of the primordial races. Every single one of them did not conceal the killing intent in their eyes. The Protasis Shaoxiang goddess was even more so. Su Zimo's cold gaze landed on the Heavenly Dipper sect's sect master as he said coldly, I think you're really tired of living. Hehe, Araki Takashi is really impressive. Right at this moment, an icy cold voice suddenly sounded from midair, and it carried a trace of mockery and ridicule. No one could find the source of the voice. Su Zimo's heart trembled as his gaze landed behind the Heavenly Dipper sect's sect master. That place was originally a void, there was nothing there. Suddenly, in the middle of the void, there was a crack, as if someone had cut open a huge hole. Then a figure slowly walked out of the crack. The myriad races were shaken. Even some of the cultivators with lower cultivation bases could tell that a Mahayana stage patriarch had arrived. Tearing through the void, it was a power that only Mahayana stage patriarchs could control. The figure wore a light blue Taoist robe that shone with a faint light. He stood in the void with his hands behind his back, as though he had transformed into the firmaments. The faint light on his body was the vast stars. The moment the figure walked out, it exuded a boundless might that caused many cultivators with lower cultivation realms to grunt with pale faces. That was the Mahayana stage patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect. I am Tian Kuei. Patriarch Tian Kuei looked down at Su Zimo from above and said slowly, Araki Takashi is so domineering. Are you going to kill me as well? I heard that someone wants to kill my sect master. At this moment another voice was heard. Above the malevolent earth sect members, the void tore open once more, and a sinister wind gusted. Suddenly, a pair of pale hands reached out from the depths of the dark void and tore open the crack, allowing a figure to burrow out. It was another Mahayana stage patriarch. The Mahayana stage patriarch was a skinny old man with a pale face. However, his expression was extremely vicious, and he surveyed his surroundings with a murderous aura the moment he arrived above Enigma Palace. It was the patriarch of Malevolent Earth sect. Di Wu. You're here as well. Patriarch Tian Kuei's gaze shifted to the malevolent Earth Sect Patriarch, and he nodded slightly. Hee. Patriarch Tian Kuei chuckled. I heard that an Araki Takashi has appeared in the cultivation world right now, and he's going on a rampage. Not only that, he even threatened to kill my sect master. Hence, I came out to take a look and see who he is. It's nothing. Patriarch Tian Kuei pointed to Su Zimo below. He's just a brat who's still wet behind the ears. He doesn't have 3 heads and 6 arms. Oh. Patriarch Tian Kuei raised his brow and said faintly, It's him. He does look extremely ordinary. Patriarch Tian Kuei continued. However, you've got to be careful not to fall for it. That Araki Takashi possesses the true body of Qinglian and can be reborn from a single drop of blood. He has just killed a patriarch of Hidden Death Sect. In that case, I'm even more interested. Patriarch Tian Kuei grinned. The two of them echoed each other, and their words implied that they wanted to kill Su Zimo. Su Zimo smiled. Patriarchs, you're truly impressive. You guys did not appear when the primordial 6 races massacred the cultivators of the human race. Now, the two of you are here to flaunt your might. Su Zimo's words were clearly mocking. However, the 2 Mahayana stage patriarchs had lived for tens of thousands of years and were indifferent towards such provocation. Patriarch Tian Kuei said, I didn't see the primordial 6 races killing humans. I only heard that you wanted to kill the sect master of my Heavenly Dipper sect. That's because he deserves to be killed. Su Zimo ignored Patriarch Tian Kuei and interrupted him. Killing intent flashed through Patriarch Tian Kuei's eyes. Su Zimo said coldly, The sect master of Heavenly Dipper sect has forgotten his ancestors and submitted to the primordial 6 races because he's timid. Not only does he deserve to be killed, he deserves to be sliced into pieces. Whether he deserves to be killed or not is the business of Heavenly Dipper sect. Patriarch Tian Kuei said slowly, An outsider like you wants to kill our sect master. That's equivalent to making an enemy out of Heavenly Dipper sect. I understand now. Suddenly Su Zimo nodded. So, it's not that the sect master of Heavenly Dipper sect is timid, but that the patriarchs of Heavenly Dipper sect have already submitted to the primordial races. You guys are the ones who deserve to be sliced into pieces. You must have a death. Patriarch Tian Kuei was enraged and suddenly attacked. A gigantic palm crushed down on Su Zimo's head, and a gigantic ancient star was condensed in his palm. Araki Takashi, I heard that many cultivators of malevolent Earth sect died in your hands. Today you'll pay with your life. Patriarch Earth Dragon attacked at the same time. In a flash, he summoned a saber and slashed towards Su Zimo. Before the saber arrived, a boundless malevolent aura surged over in a suffocating manner. The surrounding temperature plummeted as though they had fallen into hell. The palace master of Enigma Palace was enraged and shouted, As Mahayana stage patriarchs, do the two of you have any shame? Unfortunately, the 2 Mahayana stage patriarchs ignored the berating of the palace master of Enigma Palace and were bent on killing Araki Takashi. Chapter 1581. Araki Takashi doesn't have any backing. Even if he has Misty Peak and 100 Refinement sect backing him, it's useless. There's no Mahayana patriarch holding down the fort at all. That's right. Now that the patriarchs of Heavenly Dipper sect and Malevolent Earth sect have appeared, there's no Mahayana patriarch to help him. Araki Takashi is in danger. Do you think that the patriarchs of Heavenly Dipper sect and Malevolent Earth sect are the only ones here? Another demon sneered. Let me tell you, there are countless patriarchs of the primordial races watching. Once the patriarchs of the human race appear, those patriarchs of the primordial races will definitely attack as well. At that time, blood will truly flow like rivers. That's right. Those patriarchs of the primordial races are waiting for the Mahayana patriarchs of the human race to appear. At this moment, any Mahayana patriarch who dares to appear to help Araki Takashi will have to die. Think about it. It's not easy for those Mahayana patriarchs to cultivate, and they have nothing to do with Araki Takashi. Who would want to implicate themselves and die for Araki Takashi? The living beings of the 10,000 races discussed secretly and analyzed the situation. Boom! On the battlefield, Patriarch Tiankui attacked. His gigantic palm carried the might of the stars and suppressed down with a deafening bang. Su Zimo conjured hand seals with both hands, and 3 balls of flames of different colors appeared beside him. Immortal Dao Fire, Buddhist Dao Fire, Fiend Dao Fire. Condense. Su Zimo hollered softly. The 3 Dao Fires condensed rapidly in front of him. A blazing essence spirit Dao Fire burst forth from Su Zimo's glabella and entered the 3 Dao Fires. The Kacharati Dao Fire descended. Su Zimo condensed the Kacharati Dao Fire and burned towards the gigantic palm that descended from the skies. At the same time, Patriarch Earth Dragon's saber descended with a malevolent aura that almost froze the surrounding void. The blood chi of Qinglian's true body surged, and a resplendent light flashed as the Creation Lotus platform flew out. Su Zimo gripped the Creation Lotus platform and smashed it towards the saber that slashed towards him. Clang! The Lotus Throne of Good Fortune collided with the long saber. Sparks flew in all directions, and a crisp sound was heard. Su Zimo grunted as the Lotus Throne of Creation was sent flying by the saber. The flesh and blood on his arm exploded into a cloud of blood mist under everyone's watchful eyes. Forefather Di Wu's slash was just too powerful. Even with the Creation Lotus platform blocking and dissipating most of the power, one of Su Zimo's arms was still shattered. It's over. 2 stars from Forefather Tiankui's palm will descend. Araki Takashi is dead for sure. The beings of all races shook their heads slightly. At this moment, the Kacharati Dao Fire and the star in Forefather Tiankui's palm collided. Whoosh! Refining the stars with fire. Under the burning of the Kacharati Dao Fire, the gigantic ancient star could not descend. The 2 forces collided in midair and were equally matched. Araki Takashi's spell can actually contend with the power of a Mahayana patriarch. Cries of surprise came from the crowd. Humph! Forefather Tiankui sneered. What a last-ditch effort. Let's see how long you can last. The moment he said that, a cold glint flashed through Forefather Tiankui's eyes, and the gigantic star exploded, causing sand and gravel to fly everywhere. Countless meteorites scattered and drowned the Kacharati Dao Fire before long. As for Su Zimo, his blood chi surged and his severed arm grew back in the blink of an eye at an alarming speed. However, Forefather Malevolence was not slow either. The moment Su Zimo's arm grew back, Forefather Di Wu's attack descended once more. The saber in his hand trembled and transformed into countless saber shadows that pierced toward Su Zimo's throat from an extremely tricky angle. Swoosh! The wings on Su Zimo's back flapped as lightning flashed on his body. He transformed into a golden beam of light and fled into the distance. All of a sudden, a massive pressure descended. Forefather Tiankui attacked once more and shouted, "Astral Shine!" Suddenly, a gigantic star appeared in the firmaments and scattered a beam of light that landed on Su Zimo's body. An incomparably domineering power reverberated through the void. That was a divine power technique. The dermic power wings on Su Zimo's back shattered instantly. They could not defend against the power of the astral shine at all. At the same time, the lightning arcs on his body were dissipated by the starlight as well. Exclamation point! Su Zimo spat out a mouthful of blood, and his figure was revealed. Under the cover of this starlight, not to mention escaping, even if one wanted to move normally, it would be extremely difficult. Drops of blood seeped out of Qinglian's true body. In the blink of an eye, his clothes were soaked in blood. A series of creaking sounds could be heard from Su Zimo's body, and his bones were about to break under the envelopment of the starlight. In less than 10 breaths, his Qinglian's true body would be suppressed into a blood mist. This time round, he would no longer have the chance to survive. His essence spirit could not escape from the envelopment of the astral shine divine power. There was no chance for him to release blood rebirth either. Under the omnipresent pressure, Qinglian's true body had already reached its limits. Su Zimo's vision turned blurry. All of a sudden, his spirit perception sensed an even colder killing intent. Perhaps there was no need for 10 breaths. That was because Forefather Earth Dragon had already closed in. Nether passage. Forefather Earth Dragon hollered softly, and a dark power condensed on his saber. It came from the depths of the 9 hells, and was cold and sinister. The power of divine power spread and the void trembled. Another divine ability had descended. Even against a half-martial ancestor like Su Zimo, the two patriarchs did not have any intention of holding back, and released their divine powers right away. "Brother!" Xiaoning exclaimed and covered her mouth, no longer daring to look. Monkey and the others were enraged as well, and widened their eyes. "How dare you two shameless things bully us like this?" Suddenly, a cold voice sounded from the void. Right beside Su Zimo, a rift opened in the void and a figure walked out. "It's a Mahayana patriarch." "Mahayana patriarch? How dare he help Araki Takeshi at a time like this? He's truly not afraid of death." Amidst everyone's discussions, a woman walked out of the rift. Her black hair was like a waterfall, and her robes were as white as snow. Her skin was smooth, and her bones were jade-like. She was flawlessly beautiful, and not even the words devastatingly beautiful could describe her. Demoness Ji was a seductive beauty that bewitched the world. As for Yu Luosha and goddess Xiaoxiang, they were both immortal-like and peerless beauties. However, the white-bloused woman gave everyone a single feeling: stunning. She was way too beautiful. It would not be an exaggeration to use the most beautiful words in the world to describe this woman. Even the gazes of Patriarch Tian Kuei and Forefather Earth Dragon froze slightly, and their movements slowed down. The appearance of the white-bloused woman caused the initially noisy convention of the myriad races to calm down instantly. More importantly, no one among the myriad of living beings recognized this white-robed woman. Chapter 1582. Su Zimo's body was shrouded by the power of the stars, and his vision was blurry. He could not move at all, and could not see who had arrived. But when he heard this voice, he found it familiar. "It's her." A figure flashed through Su Zimo's mind. Princess Yufei of the Great Qian dynasty. Goddess True Jade. At this moment the little fox cheered, her voice filled with endless joy. Back then, Dragon Tiger Sect and the other conjoint body mighty figures moved out to kill Su Zimo. However, True Jade attacked and killed all of them. Thereafter, True Jade left and vanished. There was no news of her even after so many years. Back then, True Jade was only at the half-martial ancestor realm when she killed those conjoint body mighty figures in the old town of Yin country. To think that after so many years, True Jade was already a Mahayana patriarch when she appeared at the Myriad Races convention. True Jade? Patriarch Tian Kuei frowned slightly. The patriarch of the Earth Dragon ignored True Jade and continued slashing towards Su Zimo with a ruthless expression. All of a sudden, True Jade stroked her jade-like hands gently and removed a jade-green hairpin from her hair. It was only the length of a finger and looked extremely fragile. With a cold expression, True Jade wielded the jade hairpin and pierced Patriarch Earth Dragon's saber with incomparable precision in a flash. Clang! The seemingly fragile jade hairpin collided with the saber, with an ear-piercing sound of metal clashing. Immediately after, Patriarch Earth Dragon's expression changed starkly as he grunted and staggered in retreat with blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. At the same time, True Jade reached out and grabbed gently in midair. Instantly, a crystalline ice arrow condensed in her palm. Shoo! True Jade waved her hand gently. The ice arrow was chilling, and turned into a cold beam of light that reversed the power of the stars and pierced towards the gigantic star in the firmaments. The starlight that shrouded Su Zimo shattered completely after the ice arrow descended. Boom! The ice arrow collided with the star with a deafening bang. The ancient star was penetrated by the ice arrow and shattered. A layer of frost covered its surface as it vanished into the firmaments. Midstage Mahayana, Tian Kuei and Diwu both paled and cried out in alarm. Normally, one would be able to step into the early stage Mahayana realm after comprehending a minor divine ability. Only by comprehending more than 10 small magical powers can one step into the middle Deshang stage. However, there was a watershed between the middle Deshang stage and the late Deshang stage. Because in the middle Deshang stage, even if you comprehend more small magical powers, you can't step into the late Deshang stage. Only by comprehending a great divine ability could he step into the late stage of the Mahayana realm. The old ancestor continued to cultivate and comprehended more than 10 great divine abilities before he could cultivate to the peak of the Mahayana realm. Therefore, even if they did not comprehend a peerless divine ability, the patriarchs of the human race could still cultivate to the peak of the Mahayana realm and even begin to transcend their tribulations. Although Tian Kuei and Diwu were both great ascension stage ancestors, they had only comprehended 2 or 3 lesser abilities each and had yet to reach the mid-stage of the great ascension stage. True Jade had cultivated to the mid-stage Mahayana realm. This meant that she had already comprehended at least 10 lesser divine abilities. After all, every single time he comprehended a divine ability, his body, bloodline, and essence spirit would undergo the baptism of the divine ability, and his combat strength would undergo an extremely obvious improvement. True Jade's combat strength was several times higher than the 2 patriarchs. With True Jade's attack, the divine ability power on Su Zimo's body dissipated, and his vision gradually recovered. However, his face was pale and he panted heavily. After being suppressed by 2 divine abilities, Qinglian's true body had lost a lot of blood qi, and it would be difficult for her to recover in a short period of time. Thank you. Su Zimo looked at True Jade and nodded reluctantly. True Jade merely glanced at him indifferently. Your life can only be taken by me. No one else has the right to do so. With that said, True Jade took light steps and arrived in front of Patriarch Di Wu in the blink of an eye. A pair of jade-like fingers held the emerald jade hairpin and pierced it towards Patriarch Di Wu's glabella. A sharp, bone-piercing chill burst forth. Patriarch Di Wu felt all his hair stand on end and was horrified. He burst forth with another divine ability and swung the saber in his hand, slashing towards True Jade. At the same time, Patriarch Tian Kuei pointed at True Jade in midair and conjured another divine ability, saying in a deep voice, "Star fall." A gigantic star appeared and fell rapidly from midair at an extremely fast speed, causing the surface of the star to burn with raging flames. The star dragged a gigantic trail of flames as it smashed down towards True Jade's head. Humph! True Jade's expression did not change as she snorted coldly. Wind call! A terrifying divine ability power spread, and a cold wind suddenly blew in midair. This was no ordinary cold wind. When it descended, the flames on the falling star were suppressed by the cold wind, and were instantly frozen and extinguished. Crack! 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 The star was covered in a layer of frost. The speed of its descent became slower and slower. In the end, it froze in midair and did not even touch True Jade's hair. At the same time, Patriarch Di Wu's saber was covered in a layer of ice that grew thicker, and spread along the saber to Patriarch Di Wu's arm in the blink of an eye. Patriarch Di Wu's pupils constricted violently, and he wanted to retract his saber and retreat. However, the moment he moved his arm, a cracking sound could be heard. His arm shattered and turned into a pile of ice that fell to the ground, without a single drop of blood. The blood qi of a Mahayana patriarch was so powerful that a single drop of blood could condense a body. However, the descent of the cold wind froze all of their blood qi. Patriarch Di Wu's feet moved, and a cracking sound could be heard as well. The next moment, he could no longer feel his own flesh and blood. A dripping chill surged into his consciousness. The power of Call the Wind had already surged into his sea of consciousness through his physical body. Right then, the jade hairpin descended and pierced Patriarch Di Wu's glabella, right in front of him. A small hole appeared in his glabella. Not a single drop of blood flowed out. Patriarch Di Wu's gaze dimmed, and he collapsed stiffly. When he fell to the ground, his body shattered and turned into sparkling ice. Upon seeing that, the living beings of the 10,000 races were dumbfounded and kept quiet out of fear. A Mahayana patriarch was frozen to death just like that. Swash! In midair, Patriarch Tian Kuei's figure flashed in an attempt to escape. However, True Jade waved her hand gently and gigantic ice blades that were 100,000 feet tall, and incomparably sharp burst forth from the void beneath Patriarch Tian Kuei. The gigantic ice blades soared into the skies. Bloodlight surged. Patriarch Tian Kuei's body was sliced into pieces by the gigantic ice blades. Immediately after, a jade-green light flashed. Patriarch Tian Kuei's essence spirit had just escaped. Before he could regenerate with a drop of blood and condense a body, His essence spirit was penetrated by the jade-green light and died. The jade-green light circled in midair and returned to True Jade's palm. It was the jade hairpin. Chapter 1583. The living beings of the 10,000 races looked at Goddess True Jade in horror, and were secretly speechless. After True Jade appeared, no one expected that such a perfect woman would be so terrifying the moment she attacked. 2 Mahayana patriarchs were killed by True Jade in a few moves without any hesitation. Right then, Yuluocha's voice sounded in Su Zimo's mind as she questioned him coldly and angrily. Who is that woman? What's your relationship with her? Why is she so concerned about you? Su Zimo frowned slightly and ignored Yuluocha. Right now, his blood chi was weak, and he was trying his best to recover. How could he have the time to care about Yuluocha's sudden outburst? Heis. When Yuluocha saw that Su Zimo did not reply, she sighed gently for some reason. Hurry up and leave. The patriarchs of my race are about to arrive. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late. The moment she said that, a huge sea of blood appeared above Enigma Palace. A blood stench surged into the air and covered the skies, enveloping the entire firmament. A terrifying pressure descended upon them. The living beings of the 10,000 races were terrified and kept quiet out of fear. In fact, that might was even above Patriarch Tiankui and Patriarch Di Wu just now. True Jade frowned slightly as well, and looked at the sea of blood in the skies with a grim expression. Hee! A sinister laughter sounded from the sea of blood. The sea of blood surged and stirred up raging waves. A figure was faintly discernible within, emitting a terrifying aura. The young masters of my bloodvine race are dead again. The voice from the sea of blood sounded with a bone-chilling coldness. Patriarch, they were killed by Araki Takeshi. A bloodvine clansman stood out hurriedly and said sadly. Good, good, good. The voice from the sea of blood praised repeatedly. Araki Takeshi, you killed 2 young masters of my bloodvine race. I, Tung Han, will make you regret being born into this world today. Before his sentence was finished, the boundless sea of blood that enveloped the firmaments condensed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the boundless sea of blood condensed into a figure. Pust! The living beings of the 10,000 races were shocked and gasped. It was unimaginable how terrifying the power contained within such a massive sea of blood was. But now such a massive amount of power was condensed within the body of a single bloodvine race. How strong was that bloodvine race? The progenitor of the bloodvine race stood in the air. He was a middle-aged man in a blood-red robe. He had a ruthless expression on his face as he slowly descended. Greetings, Patriarch Tung Han. Numerous bloodvine clan members knelt on the ground and shouted loudly with respectful expressions. All of you get up. Ancestor Tung Han nodded lightly and looked around. When he saw the numerous corpses of the bloodvine race on the ground, the killing intent in his eyes grew even stronger. In the battle between the human cultivators and the primordial 6 races earlier, the primordial 6 races had suffered considerable losses as well. This time, the bloodvine race had sent over several hundred people. In the battle earlier, close to 100 people had fallen. Furthermore, the young master of the bloodvine race was killed by Su Zimo. Fifth, this bloodvine race is a little strong. Ling Hu was secretly shocked and sent a voice transmission. I merely took a single glance at him, and I felt my bloodline stir, as though it was about to surge out. I wonder if Goddess True Jade can defend against him. Little Fox was worried. It's hard to say. Night Spirit shook his head gently. Tung Han's cultivation is higher than Goddess True Jade's? Monkey asked with a frown. Night Spirit shook his head. Not really. Tung Han is only at early stage Mahayana realm. Pausing for a moment, Night Spirit continued. However, the primordial races are born with strong bloodlines. Even if they're at early stage Mahayana realm, their innate divine powers can modify their bodies, bloodlines and essence spirits, and their combat strength is equivalent to comprehending more than 10 minor divine powers for humans. Are you saying that the combat strength of an early-stage Mahayana realm primordial race is equivalent to a mid-stage Mahayana realm human? Monkey's heart skipped a beat. They're only strong. Night Spirit nodded. Night Spirit said, however, when a primordial race reaches mid-stage Mahayana realm, It's equivalent to a human comprehending more than 10 great divine powers, and can fight against a perfected Mahayana realm human. If a primordial race reaches late-stage Mahayana realm, even if they don't comprehend any peerless divine powers, their innate divine powers will grow to a peerless level. Monkey and the others were shocked. Ching asked, "Are you saying that a late-stage Mahayana realm patriarch of a primordial race is equivalent to comprehending a peerless divine power?" One had to know that to the human race, comprehending an ultimate technique was equivalent to being an emperor. Night Spirit nodded. Therefore, in the ancient records of the human race, some patriarchs of primordial races can fight against human emperors. If a primordial race reaches perfected Mahayana realm, Little Fox did not dare to continue thinking. Night Spirit said, "A primordial race at perfected Mahayana realm possesses the power of 2 peerless divine powers. This means that even the most ordinary emperors of the primordial races possess the power of 3 peerless divine powers." No wonder. A look of realization flashed through the eyes of Monkey and the others. Back in the ancient war, although the human race ushered in a golden era, and the cultivation civilization reached its peak with the descent of emperors, they were still forced to retreat step by step. Most of the emperors of the human race could not fight against the emperors of the primordial races. That was the fundamental reason. Human patriarchs could be conferred the title of emperor as long as they comprehended a single peerless divine power. However, even the most ordinary emperors of the primordial races possessed the power of 3 peerless divine powers. No one knew the primordial races better than Night Spirit. Of course, as taboos, their growth potential was even more terrifying than the primordial races. "Patriarch Tinghan, you must avenge me." A Bloodvine clansman grit his teeth. These ants of the human race are getting bolder and bolder. To think that they would dare to resist. "That's right," another Bloodvine clansman said hatefully as well. "Young Master Ting Luo died too unjustly. It was completely a sneak attack by Araki Takashi. He killed the young master with a single arrow." "Don't worry," Tinghan grinned sinisterly. "I'll let these ants of the human race know who's the true master of Tianhuang mainland." Before he could finish his sentence, Tinghan suddenly opened his mouth and took a deep breath. Poof, poof, poof. The hundreds of creatures closest to him, be they human cultivators, demons, or creatures of other species, were all bursting out clusters of bloody mist. The blood mists condensed in midair and turned into blood water that surged towards Tinghan's mouth. Instantly, hundreds of streams of blood surged into Tinghan's mouth from all directions. This scene was extremely horrifying and sent chills down the spines of all the living beings of the 10,000 races. What sort of power was that? With a single breath, the blood of the living beings of the 10,000 races left their bodies uncontrollably and was sucked into Tinghan's mouth. Even half-martial ancestors would lose their blood chi from that single breath, let alone conjoint body mighty figures. In the blink of an eye, they turned into dried corpses and died. The living beings of the 10,000 races were in an uproar and retreated one after another, afraid that they would be devoured by Tinghan. Chapter 1584. The descent of the patriarch of the primordial races chilled the blood of the human race once more. It was as though a basin of cold water was poured over their heads, causing many cultivators to return to the cruel reality. So what if Araki Takashi was around? When the Myriad Races Convention was raised to the level of patriarchs, almighty figures and half-martial ancestors were merely ants. Araki Takashi was only a slightly stronger ant, and was not spared either. Just now, the cultivators of Enigma Palace, Misty Peak, Shura Sect and Dapamkara Temple, who were fighting against the primordial 6 races, fell silent in fear. They did not know if anyone would be able to defend against Patriarch Tinghan if he were to go on a killing spree. "I hate the aura on your body." True Jade glared at Patriarch Tinghan and said coldly. A killing intent appeared in her eyes, as though she had thought of something that made her unhappy. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat, and he understood before long. Although the destruction of the Great Qian Empire was caused by Long Ran, there was a mastermind behind it. There was a high chance that the mastermind was Bloodface. Or perhaps it was the blood demon Tao Lord. However, be it Blood Face or the blood demon Tao Lord, they were both related to the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra. As for the blood demon Tao Lord, he was a remnant of the Blood Vine race, and the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra was deduced based on the cultivation techniques and secret skills of the Blood Vine race. Therefore, Patriarch Teng Han's aura reminded True Jade of the destruction of the Great Qian Empire. Be careful, Su Zimo reminded. He was killed by the two patriarchs, Tian Kuei and Di Wu, and his blood qi was severely drained, and he was still recovering. Furthermore, he could not help much in his current state in a battle as such. Why? Are you here to stop me as well, a delicate woman? Patriarch Teng Han's gaze landed on True Jade without any fluctuations. Although True Jade was flawlessly beautiful, she was merely a prettier food in the eyes of Patriarch Teng Han. In the eyes of the Bloodvine race, all races were food, and they were all food. If not for the fact that the other primordial 8 races were way too strong, the Bloodvine race would even treat them as food. I don't want to stop you. I want to kill you. After True Jade finished speaking, she took light steps and arrived in front of Forefather Teng Han in an instant. She held the jade hairpin between her fingers and stabbed it towards Forefather Teng Han's forehead. Old ancestor Teng Han grinned hideously and said, "You're really courting death, you blood food. You delivered yourself to my doorstep. Then I'll swallow you first, and then I'll swallow Araki Takeshi." He did not place True Jade in his eyes at all. Although he was only at the early stage Mahayana realm, an early stage Mahayana realm of the primordial races could completely suppress a mid-stage Mahayana realm patriarch of the human race. Suddenly, an ice-cold chill descended. Silently, True Jade already released the divine ability art. Great ancestor Teng Han's expression changed. Under this coldness, ice crystals actually appeared in his veins, showing signs of freezing. What a powerful divine ability! Teng Han's heart skipped a beat. Normally speaking, ordinary minor divine abilities could not affect him at all. However, not only did True Jade's minor divine ability affect him, it even threatened his life. Bloodthirst. Teng Han hollered and opened his mouth, sucking in True Jade's direction. This was the innate divine ability of the Bloodvine race. When he entered the Mahayana realm, this innate divine ability had already grown to a realm that was not weaker than the minor divine abilities of the human race. Under the envelopment of the Bloodthirst divine ability, the bloodline of any living being would surge towards the Bloodvine race. True Jade narrowed her eyes slightly. When the Bloodthirst divine ability descended, she could clearly sense the bloodline in her body stirring, wanting to break free from her body. If Forefather Teng Han were to absorb her bloodline, she would definitely lose. True Jade's expression was unchanged as she channeled her spirit consciousness and released a second divine ability. A cold aura rose from her body and almost froze her bloodline. Instantly, Forefather Teng Han's bloodthirst divine ability lost its effect. As for the jade hairpin between True Jade's fingers, it had already pierced Forefather Teng Han's glabella. Clang! Forefather Teng Han's glabella shone, and a blood calabash flew out, colliding with the jade hairpin with a crisp sound. "Since you don't want me to drink your blood, I'll let you have a taste of mine." Forefather Teng Han grinned and tossed the blood calabash into the air. With the bottom of the calabash facing up and the mouth of the calabash facing down, a large amount of blood poured down and enveloped True Jade. The blood was not from an ordinary bloodline. It was the blood essence that Forefather Teng Han had refined for many years. A single drop of blood essence from Forefather Teng Han's storage bag was almost enough to cripple the ancient unique treasure, Dharma Dispersing Bow. If the Dharma treasure was tainted by so much blood essence of the patriarch, there was a high chance that it would lose its strength and be unable to be used. Insignificant tricks. True Jade had a fearless expression, and there were no ripples in her eyes. Suddenly, she opened her mouth and spat out a white cold air that blew on the blood essence that was spilling down from midair. Crack! 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 The blood essence of the patriarch froze in midair instantly. However, there was an extremely evil power hidden within the blood essence that wanted to break out of the ice. Burn! All of a sudden, a scarlet glint flashed through True Jade's eyes. With a gentle tap of her fingertip, a divine power flame appeared beneath the frozen blood essence. The two powers of ice and fire collided and instantly refined the blood essence of the patriarch into nothingness. This time round, Forefather Tung Han's expression changed starkly. Initially, he thought that True Jade was only proficient in water-type divine powers and would not pose much of a threat to him. To think that not only did True Jade possess many water-type divine powers, she even possessed fire-type divine powers. The Bloodvine race was still a spirit formed from plants, and were most afraid of flames. That was the reason why the Bloodvine race suffered such huge losses when Su Zimo released the Kacharati Dao fire on 6-Star Mountain. True Jade charged forward once more. On the jade hairpin, tiny flames were actually burning, containing an extremely terrifying divine ability power. Forefather Tung Han did not have time to think, and reverted to his true form right away. A gigantic blood vine took root on the battlefield, and waved hundreds of thick blood vines, coiling towards True Jade. Many cultivators were invigorated. Nobody expected that the human patriarch that appeared later would be so domineering as to force Forefather Tung Han's true form out. Crack, 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 crack. True Jade's expression did not change, as she froze the incoming blood vines with her left hand. The flames on her right hand descended. Water and fire countered each other, and the collision of the two powers could produce an even more terrifying divine power. Instantly, Forefather Tung Han's blood vines were turned into nothingness. In the blink of an eye, half of the hundreds of blood vines were destroyed by True Jade. True Jade's expression was cold as she charged straight for Forefather Tung Han's consciousness. She was determined to kill him right there and then. Forefather Tung Han could not stop her at all. Wuxia Golden Flame, what are you guys waiting for? Come out and help me. This woman is a little troublesome. Suddenly Forefather Tung Han shrieked. Chapter 1585. Ha 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 ha. A burst of laughter sounded in midair. A gigantic crack appeared in the firmaments and beams of golden light burst forth from within. It was bedazzling and illuminated the night sky as though it was daytime. The living beings of the 10,000 races raised their heads. 5 figures walked out slowly from the gigantic crack. The 5 figures descended into the world as though the entire world could not accommodate them, and cracks appeared in the void. Endless light surged. The world changed. A tremendous pressure descended, and all the living beings of the 10,000 races grunted. The 5 Mahayana patriarchs of the primordial races had descended upon Enigma Palace at the same time. Including Patriarch Tung Han of the Bloodvine race, the 6 patriarchs were present. Among the 5 figures, the one in the middle was tall, and had golden hair and green eyes. He was incomparably handsome, and wore golden armor. His golden blood chi surged and his eyes shone. It was the Protoss, Patriarch Divine Universe. On the left of Patriarch Divine Universe was a cultivator in dark green robes, with a hood on his head that obscured his face. Only 2 faint green lights shone from the hood of the dark green-robed cultivator in a sinister manner. This was the Wuxia that Patriarch Tung Han mentioned, and was from the witch race. On the right of Patriarch Divine Universe was a man with a cold expression. He was expressionless, and looked no different from a human. However, there was a thin blood mark on his glabella that resembled an eye. The cold man turned his eyes, and wherever his gaze landed, the void would collapse. Patriarch Song Ming of the Heavenly Eye race. On the far left and right of Patriarch Shen, you were 2 people with wings. However, the one on the right was extremely ugly. He had a green face and fangs, resembling a malevolent ghost. A pair of pitch-black flesh wings flapped, and he emitted an evil aura. Patriarch Li Ying of the Rakshasa race. The one on the left had a bird's head with a human body. He had a pair of golden wings that burned with scorching flames and a sharp gaze. He was half human, half bird. This was the Patriarch Golden Flame that Patriarch Tung Han mentioned, and was from the Golden Crow race. The patriarchs of the primordial 6 races arrived together, and a terrifying might descended, causing all the living beings of the 10,000 races to keep quiet out of fear. Even True Jade frowned slightly, her expression turning increasingly grave. However, she had no intention of stopping. She still wanted to kill Great Ancestor Tung Han. Ancestor Li Ying, who was on the far right, grinned and jokingly said, Tengen, how come you can't even take down a woman from the human race? Have you become soft-hearted? Hee hee. The leftmost forefather Golden Flame flapped his golden wings and laughed. We were watching from the side and didn't show ourselves, because we wanted to give you a chance to suppress this little girl with your own hands. I didn't expect you to be beaten so badly. Don't make sarcastic remarks. Forefather Tung Han resisted True Jade's attacks as he said, This human woman has some ability. He's definitely a prodigy among the human emperors. Ha! Ancestor Shinyu smiled faintly and said, Human sovereigns are nothing but ants in our eyes. I'll leave this ant to you. Right now, I just want to kill Araki Takeshi. Great Ancestor Tung Han said hatefully. Old Ancestor Shinyu looked around and calmly asked, Which of the four of you wants to fight? I'll do it. Patriarch Li Ying of the Rakshasa race stared at True Jade with a hint of lust in his eyes as he laughed sinisterly. None of my female slaves are as beautiful as her. I'll capture this woman and teach her a good lesson. Hee hee. The moment he said that, Patriarch Li Ying flapped his pitch-black wings. A gust of wind howled and Patriarch Li Ying's figure vanished. When he reappeared, he was already behind True Jade and reached out with his greenish-black palm, grabbing towards her shoulder. True Jade could not be distracted while fighting with Patriarch Tung Han. However, she still sensed Patriarch Li Ying's disappearance. True Jade shifted sideways, and a series of afterimages appeared behind her, as she avoided Patriarch Li Ying's dirty and ugly palm. Hee hee. Patriarch Li Ying chuckled, and placed a strand of hair at his fingertips under his nose. He took a deep breath, and revealed an intoxicated expression. How fragrant! A look of extreme disgust appeared on True Jade's face, as she faintly felt nauseous. Although she dodged quickly, Patriarch Li Ying still managed to pull out a strand of her hair. Yes, that's the expression. When Patriarch Li Ying saw the disgust on True Jade's face, he was delighted instead of angry as he chuckled. The more disgusted you are right now, the more excited I'll be when you submit to me. Disgusting. True Jade said coldly. Many of the living beings were also cursing in their hearts. What a freak. However, none of them dared to reveal it on their faces, afraid that they would be targeted by Patriarch Li Ying. It's fine. In a flash, Patriarch Li Ying vanished from the spot and turned into a streak of dark light that circled around True Jade. You'll definitely fall in love with me in the future. Ha 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 ha. Patriarch Li Ying's voice flickered left and right, up and down. It was erratic without any pattern, and could not be determined at all. Patriarch Li Ying's speed was so fast that he would never appear in True Jade's line of sight. Even if True Jade released her spirit consciousness, it would be disrupted by Patriarch Li Ying's divine powers, and she would not be able to sense his exact location. Even if True Jade wanted to fight him, she would not be able to do so. Humph. True Jade's expression turned cold as she conjured hand seals with both hands and released streams of divine powers into the void. Instantly, the skies darkened and a snowstorm descended. Just now, the night sky was still vast and filled with stars. In the blink of an eye, dark clouds covered the sky and snow fluttered. The temperature of Enigma Palace plummeted, and the wind was bone-chilling. That was the power of divine powers. Forefather Li Ying's figure was naturally greatly affected by the cold weather. More importantly, Patriarch Li Ying's figure was completely exposed in the snowstorm. That dark light was extremely eye-catching in the white snow. Kill. True Jade's gaze was cold as she finally locked onto Patriarch Li Ying's figure. She waved her hand gently, and a jade-green light flashed in the snowstorm. Poof! A flash of blood appeared in midair. Patriarch Li Ying let out a muffled groan. His body was exposed and he stood in midair. A bloody hole was pierced through his flesh wings by True Jade's hairpin with scarlet blood flowing. For Mahayana patriarchs, that was not a fatal injury. However, many cultivators were invigorated. Goddess True Jade was stronger than everyone had imagined. Little girl, you hurt me. Patriarch Li Ying finally could not laugh anymore. His expression darkened as he said coldly, I'm going to get serious now. On the other side, Patriarch Tung Han broke free from True Jade's pursuit, and dozens of blood vines tore through the air, wrapping towards Suzimo. Araki Takeshi. Patriarch Tung Han's voice sounded with a bone-chilling coldness. Hand over your life. Chapter 1586. Swoosh! Su Zimo conjured hand seals, and 3 balls of flames were instantly condensed around him. He released the scarlet flame revolving lantern in an attempt to defend against Patriarch Tung Han's attack. However, Patriarch Tung Han's combat strength was comparable to a mid-stage Mahayana human, and could even suppress mid-stage Mahayana patriarchs. Even the 2 patriarchs, Tian Kuei and Di Wu, would be killed on the spot in less than 3 rounds against him. The difference in strength was way too great. Many blood vines coiled over like gigantic blood pythons. The flames of the scarlet flame revolving lantern were extinguished instantly, without causing any damage to the blood vines. Poof! 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 In the blink of an eye, dozens of blood vines opened their bloody mouths and bit onto Qinglian's true body. Those sharp fangs pierced Qinglian's true body. Ugh! Su Zimo grunted and blood drained from his face. Gaga gaga! Patriarch Tung Han had an excited expression and could not help but laugh. Araki Takashi, I'm going to suck your bloodline dry bit by bit. I'm going to let you experience the fear of death. Given Patriarch Tung Han's methods, a single blood vine was enough to devour Su Zimo. However, he did not. He used dozens of blood vines to bite onto Su Zimo's body. Qinglian's true body was almost covered with blood vines. There was not a single unscathed spot on her body that was bitten by the fangs at the top of the blood vines. Patriarch Tung Han wanted to absorb Su Zimo's bloodline bit by bit to torture Su Zimo. Death was not terrifying. Feeling one's life slipping away bit by bit, yet being unable to do anything about it. That feeling was truly terrifying. This time round, no one could help Su Zimo. A hint of anxiety flashed through True Jade's eyes. She glanced towards Su Zimo from time to time and frowned. Su Zimo was not an important person to her. There was no true friendship between the 2 of them. However, True Jade's awakening in this life was related to Su Zimo. When she woke up, the first person she saw was still Su Zimo. Furthermore, the 2 of them had done some embarrassing things in the depths of the cave. When she woke up in this life, her old friend had already left. The only thing she could think of was the little fox. If there was another person, it would probably be Su Zimo. Puff! She was distracted for a moment, and her shoulder was cut by the 2 blades in Rakshasa Li Ying's hands. Fresh blood flowed out. What was even more terrifying was that the 2 blades in Li Ying's hands seemed to have been tempered by some unknown evil substance. The wounds on the blades were rapidly turning green and rotting. True Jade glanced to the side, opened her mouth, and spat out a stream of cold air to freeze the wound. When fighting against the Rakshasa race, one might not be able to come out unscathed even if they were fully focused, let alone if they were distracted. Hee, you can't even save yourself, and you still want to save him? Ancestor Li Ying sneered. Ancestor Li Ying's words were not empty words. In midair, there were still Patriarch Divine Universe, Patriarch Witchcraft, Patriarch Golden Flame, and Patriarch Song Ming eyeing them covetously without attacking. To think that the Patriarch of the human race is still not appearing. How tolerant. We've appeared too early. The Patriarch of the human race is probably so scared that he doesn't dare to appear. No, this is Enigma Palace. Even if the other patriarchs of the human race don't dare to appear, the Patriarch of Enigma Palace will. Patriarch Divine Universe, and the other 3 stood in midair expressionlessly, but were communicating with their spirit consciousnesses secretly. The 4 of them did not attack. However, in reality, they were waiting for the Patriarch of the human race to appear, so that they could start a massacre. On the battlefield, Su Zimo was entangled by dozens of blood vines, and was almost drowned within them. The living beings of the 10,000 races could see the blood vines squirming continuously, as streams of bloodline surged into Patriarch Tung Han's body through the vines. First, Monkey, Xiaoning and the others exclaimed, Zimo, Demoness Ji Qingtian, and the others were shocked as well. Screw it. Monkey swung imminent, and was about to charge forward. He was only a great demon, and the difference in strength between him and Patriarch Tung Han was way too great. Patriarch Tung Han could suppress him with a single finger. However, at that moment, Monkey and the other brothers were hot-blooded and could not be bothered anymore as they wanted to charge forward. Suddenly, a voice sounded in the minds of Monkey and the others. "Don't come over, I'm fine." Although the voice was weak, it was indeed Su Zimo's voice and everyone heard it clearly. First, Monkey and the others widened their eyes in disbelief and looked at the battlefield in confusion. On the battlefield, Su Zimo's figure was already drowned by the blood vines, and no one knew what was happening inside. Under normal circumstances, Patriarch Tung Han's combat strength should have been able to kill Su Zimo. However, he chose another method. He wanted to devour Su Zimo's bloodline. Right now, Su Zimo was a human-shaped creation Qinglian. The moment that happened, it was no longer Patriarch Tung Han who wanted to devour Su Zimo's bloodline. Instead, it was a blood vine that wanted to devour and refine the creation Qinglian. Initially, Su Zimo thought that the Qinglian's true body was about to die here as well. However, when Patriarch Tung Han began to absorb his bloodline, his Qinglian's true body and creation lotus platform shone uncontrollably. Instead, the blood qi in his body intensified. Under the coiling of dozens of blood vines, Su Zimo's figure vanished completely and was replaced by a jade-green Qinglian. At that moment, countless blood vines coiled around the jade-green Qinglian and bit the lotus stem, wanting to absorb the power of the creation Qinglian. As a result, it instantly provoked the counterattack of the dark green lotus. The blood vine race was merely a race of plants. Among the plants, the creation Qinglian was much stronger than the blood vine race. There were so many blood vines that they even formed a race. As for the creation Qinglian, there was only one in this world in the vast universe, and there was no race at all. Born at the beginning of the chaos, it contained the creation of heaven and earth and grew endlessly. If there was a true god among the plants, the creation Qinglian was one of them. There were definitely not many true supreme treasures of heaven and earth. For example, there were only one or two of the three sacred trees of the Buddhist monasteries, the Bodhi tree, Carefree tree and Saros tree. They were far stronger than the bloodvine race. Patriarch Tung Han's action was equivalent to challenging the gods of the plants. The creation green lotus was born in chaos. Without a strong absorption power, there was no way it could survive in the blurry environment of chaos. The bloodthirstiness of the blood vine race was truly way too insignificant against the absorption power of the creation Qinglian. Right now, it was as though dozens of small streams were trying to absorb the seawater of the vast ocean into their bodies. The creation Qinglian swayed gently and took root on the ground, bursting with rays of light. Although the dozens of blood vines were still biting onto the creation Qinglian, the situation of absorbing the power of blood qi was reversed. Chapter 1587. Creation Qinglian was extremely difficult to nurture because she was a creation of heaven and earth. Throughout history, only the ancient Buddha emperor had nurtured creation Qinglian to a grade 8 realm. As for Su Zimo's creation green lotus, it had absorbed the primordial divine spring, the worryless wood, and even undergone the baptism of the divine power storm. After dozens or hundreds of years of refinement, it was still only infinitely close to grade 8. His grade 7 creation Qinglian's true body was already rather terrifying. In fact, it even gave birth to a powerful technique similar to rebirth from a drop of blood. Even so, it was still difficult for Su Zimo to break through to the grade 8 realm. If he wanted to cross that threshold, he would need an extremely huge amount of energy. If he cultivated normally, Su Zimo would have to cultivate for countless years before he could break through to the grade 8 creation Qinglian. It could be 100 years, or even 1,000 years. But now, Patriarch Tung Han's appearance gave creation Qinglian a perfect opportunity to break through. Initially, the power of bloodline was still flowing into Patriarch Tung Han's body through the blood vines. Patriarch Tung Han did not delay and cultivated immediately. Although Su Zimo's cultivation realm was only at the half-martial ancestor realm, the bloodline of creation Qinglian was definitely a great supplement for him. However, not long after, the process of bloodline surging gradually stopped. Before long, creation Qinglian began to absorb the power of the outside world through the dozens of blood vines. To the living beings of the 10,000 races, Blood qi was still flowing continuously within the dozens of blood vines. However, they did not realize that the transmission had already reversed. Patriarch Teng Han's bloodline began to surge towards Qinglian's true body through the dozens of blood vines. The most terrifying thing was that Patriarch Teng Han was only absorbing the bloodline of Qinglian's true body. As for Creation Qinglian, she was absorbing energy, be it Patriarch Teng Han's bloodline or the life essence energy in his body. They were all treated as energy that could be absorbed by Creation Qinglian and were absorbed continuously. Patriarch Teng Han's blood qi was decreasing rapidly. Not only that, his lifespan was decreasing as well. Patriarch Teng Han jolted awake and shuddered. What's going on? Old ancestor Teng Han sensed what was happening in his body, and he was greatly shocked. Not good. Progenitor Teng Han soon realized what he was facing. He exclaimed in his heart, and immediately let go of the blood-red vine to leave Su Zimo. However, it was no longer a place where he could leave just because he wanted to. Qinglian of creation emitted rays of light that soared into the sky. The huge lotus leaves tightly wrapped around the countless blood vines, not allowing ancestor Teng Han to escape. Qinglian didn't just absorb old ancestor Teng Han's bloodline, she also absorbed his life force. The speed at which the energy was being absorbed was getting faster and faster, and it was becoming increasingly terrifying. Elder ancestor Teng Han's lifespan and vitality were dropping at a speed visible to the naked eye. With just a slight delay, his cultivation realm could not be stabilized and showed signs of falling. And this process of absorbing energy was a process of one's loss and the other's gain. Forefather Teng Han's power was weakening, but Qinglian's power was rising continuously. By the time old ancestor Teng Han wanted to break free, he was shocked to discover that he was already powerless. His strength was no longer enough to break free from Qinglian of creation. He wanted to channel his essence spirit and release essence spirit secret skills. However, his essence spirit was dim in his consciousness. He couldn't even condense his spirit consciousness, let alone essence spirit secret skills. The energy absorbed by Qinglian of creation absorbed the power of his essence spirit and nourished Qinglian's true body continuously. The creation lotus platform. This was equivalent to exhausting the primordial spirit of a Mahayana ancestor to nourish the green lotus of creation and help it break through the barrier of the 8th stage. Simply put, old ancestor Teng Han was using his life to help Su Zimo. Old ancestor Teng Han let out a panicked scream, as though he was experiencing something incomparably terrifying. His screams turned weaker as well. Wu Tian, golden flame, save me. Old ancestor Teng Han used his final bit of strength to shout. It was only at this moment that Shen Yu and the other 3 patriarchs of the primordial races noticed old ancestor Teng Han's abnormality on the battlefield. They had been watching the fight between Patriarch Li Ying and True Jade the entire time, and did not notice old ancestor Teng Han at all. After all, in their understanding, there would be no accidents if they killed the weak Araki Takeshi. When old ancestor Teng Han shouted, they realized that something big had happened. What's going on? Why has Teng Han's aura become so weak? Patriarch Shen Yu released his spirit consciousness, and his expression changed starkly as he exclaimed, "Not good. Teng Han is about to die. His lifespan is about to dry up. What's going on? Hurry and attack!" Golden Flame and the others exclaimed. Right then, Patriarch Wu Tian shook his head. It's too late. The dozens of blood vines that coiled around Qinglian of creation fell slowly. Teng Han's true body was completely withered, and there were no signs of life. A patriarch of the primordial races was sucked to death by the creation Qinglian. The creation Qinglian of creation flickered in midair, and its aura was rising continuously. Araki Takeshi, what a man! Wu Tian narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "To think that he's going to break through to the grade 8 creation Qinglian of creation with the help of Teng Han. Kill him. We can't let him break through." Patriarch Shen Yu waved his sleeves and released a golden beam of light that condensed into a gigantic golden sword in midair and slashed towards the creation Qinglian of creation. The creation Qinglian of creation was advancing towards grade 8. Once the creation Qinglian of creation advanced to grade 8, there was a high chance that Su Zimo would break through and enter the Mahayana realm to become a true Mahayana patriarch. However, during this process, he could not defend against the attacks outside. Even a conjoint body mighty figure could interrupt the process and cause his breakthrough to fail, let alone a Mahayana patriarch. Just as the gigantic golden sword was about to slash the creation Qinglian of creation, the void suddenly tore apart. 3,000 silver threads burst forth from the tear like a silver river and collided with the gigantic golden sword with a deafening bang. Boom! The gigantic golden sword shattered and turned into the power of divine powers that circled in midair and dissipated gradually. A dull grunt sounded from the tear as well. It was clear that the person who attacked did not have it easy despite receiving Patriarch Shun Yu's divine power. However, before long, figures dressed in the robes of Enigma Palace walked out from the tear one after another. Every single figure emitted a powerful aura with a wanton might. In the blink of an eye, 17 Enigma Palace cultivators appeared. However, all of those Enigma Palace cultivators were Mahayana patriarchs. Instantly, the crowd was in an uproar. Countless cultivators gripped their fists with excited expressions. At this point of the battle, apart from true Jade, the patriarchs of the human race had finally appeared. Furthermore, 17 Mahayana patriarchs had descended this time round. Chapter 1588. I knew it. Little Fatty slapped his thigh and said, Enigma Palace is holding the convention of the myriad races. How can there be no patriarch guarding it? Many cultivators were excited when they saw the 17 Mahayana patriarchs descend. Only Night Spirit frowned slightly and shook his head. These patriarchs are too weak. They can't defend against those from the primordial races. No matter what, no matter how weak they are, there are still 17 of them. They should be able to hold on for a little longer. Linghu shook his head and heaved a sigh of relief. Greetings, patriarchs. The palace master of Enigma Palace and many cultivators hurried forward and bowed. The 17 Mahayana patriarchs looked at everyone from Enigma Palace and nodded slightly. The leader held a horsetail whisk, and his face was pale. Just now, he was the one who had blocked Patriarch Shun Yu's sword. I am Wu Hua. The Mahayana patriarch cupped his fists towards Patriarch Shun Yu and the other 3 patriarchs of the primordial races, and said in a deep voice, I wonder why the primordial 6 races are going on a killing spree when all the races are gathered here. Fufu. Patriarch Shun Yu smiled faintly. People of the primordial races can be killed whenever they want. There's no reason. When they heard that, the 17 Mahayana patriarchs' expressions darkened with anger. After pausing for a moment, Patriarch Shun Yu continued, However, it's not like there's no reason. The convention of the myriad races has yet to begin, and so many people of the primordial 6 races have died. Naturally, we have to seek justice. Patriarch Wu Hua frowned slightly. The juniors of the various races are too sharp, and it's inevitable that there will be some conflicts. Just now, many human cultivators have died in this battle as well. Why don't everyone sit down for the time being and let go of what just now? The convention of the myriad races will continue as normal. Bullsh *T. Golden Flame glared at Patriarch Wu Hua coldly and cursed. 2 princes of the Golden Crow race died, and you think we can let it go just like that? Who do you think you are? Patriarch Wu Hua's expression darkened as he gritted his teeth and did not reply. That's right. Patriarch Heavenly Witchcraft also nodded slightly. Every life of the primordial 6 races is extremely precious. How can you humans compare to them? Patriarch Wu Hua remained silent for a moment. In that case, the primordial 6 races have no intention of negotiating with the human race at all? It's fine if you want to talk. Patriarch Song Ming pointed at the Fortune Qinglian and said, Your human race's Araki Takashi has killed too many of our clansmen. Kill Araki Takashi first to show your sincerity. Then we'll consider whether or not to negotiate. No. Patriarch Wu Hua did not even think about it and directly refused. Then there's no room for discussion. Patriarch Song Ming's face darkened as he said in a chilling voice, My tribe must kill this Araki Takashi. The Mahayana patriarchs present could not agree with each other, and the atmosphere changed to one of hostility. Protect Araki Takeshi. Don't let anything happen to him. Old ancestor Wuhua waved his hand and ordered, his tone resolute. Fufu. Patriarch Shinyu chuckled. You guys are way too weak. Even the strongest of the 17 Mahayana patriarchs is only at the mid-stage Mahayana realm. Do you guys think that you can stop the four of us? Kill. Golden Flame hollered and reverted to his true form right away. He reared his head and roared into the skies. His gigantic body burned with golden flames as he lunged towards Patriarch Wuhua and the others. 9 heavens, Silver River. Patriarch Wuhua hollered and waved the horsetail whisk in his hands. The 3,000 silver strands fluttered, as though they were a silver river in the firmaments that contained countless stars. They surged with a massive might and collided against Golden Flame viciously. Boom! There was a deafening bang. Patriarch Wuhua opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His gaze dimmed as he retreated continuously. More than half of the horsetail whisk in his hands was burned by the sun essence fire on Golden Flame as well. Although they were both at the mid-stage Mahayana realm, True Jade's combat strength could suppress Patriarch Tung Han and the others. However, Patriarch Wuhua could not defend against it. Even for patriarchs of the same cultivation realm, their combat strength was different according to their talent, bloodline, power of divine powers comprehended in number of divine powers. On the other side, the heavenly eye on Patriarch Song Ming's glabella suddenly opened. In an instant, a terrifying aura spread out. Even the spectators felt their hearts palpitate. It was hard to imagine what sort of impact the 17 Mahayana patriarchs would have to endure. A dark light burst forth from Patriarch Songming's heavenly eye. Wherever the dark light passed, life was extinguished. Hurry and disperse. Patriarch Wuhua hollered. Swash, swash, swash. The 17 human patriarchs dodged one after another. However, there were still 2 Mahayana patriarchs who were slightly slower and were grazed by one of the dark lights. One of the Mahayana patriarchs reacted extremely quickly and released his essence spirit right away. The other was momentarily stunned. Immediately after, his gaze dimmed and his life force decreased sharply as he fell from midair. That momentary delay caused one of the Mahayana patriarchs to be killed by Patriarch Songming's heavenly eye without even having the chance to release his essence spirit. The other Mahayana patriarch managed to escape and hurriedly channeled his blood reincarnation technique to condense a physical body. All of a sudden, a cloud of dark green mist appeared in the Mahayana stage patriarch's sea of consciousness, and it quickly condensed into a storm that surged toward his origin spirit. The spirit-slaying curse. Patriarch Wu Tian had attacked. To be precise, Patriarch Wu Tian did not move at all and nobody saw him attack. However, a killing curse that targeted the essence spirit had already descended into the consciousness of the human patriarch. The moment the Mahayana patriarch's body was formed, the spirit-slaying curse descended. His essence spirit was destroyed and his body was destroyed. Although he managed to dodge Patriarch Songming's heavenly eye, he could not dodge the secret curse of the witch race. Bang! Right then, Patriarch Wuhua's body was torn into pieces by a single punch, right in front of countless gazes, and blood splattered everywhere. Patriarch Shinyu attacked and his blood chi surged. Patriarch Wuhua could not defend against a casual punch. However, Patriarch Wuhua's essence spirit escaped, and his flesh was formed in the blink of an eye. As for Patriarch Shinyu, he rampaged through the Mahayana patriarchs, and none of them could withstand a single punch or kick from him. Broken limbs flew in all directions. Patriarchs were bleeding in an extremely tragic manner. Patriarch Shinyu and the other 3 patriarchs attacked one after another and cooperated. In less than 10 minutes, 7 Mahayana patriarchs of Enigma Palace had already died. What should we do? We can't defend against them at all. Shijian muttered. Little Fatty frowned and scanned the crowd, whispering, I have a feeling that Enigma Palace has a backup plan. The appearance of the 17 Mahayana patriarchs seems to be to stall for time as well. Pausing for a moment, Little Fatty continued. Haven't you noticed that old lad Lin Xuanji hasn't appeared yet? No matter what backup they have, Brother Su will most likely be doomed once the 17 Mahayana patriarchs are dead. I'm afraid he won't be able to wait until then. Jian sighed. Right then the bell of Enigma Palace rang. Someone was here. Chapter 1589. Right now, an Ancestor Realm battle had broken out on the battlefield of Enigma Palace. The Mahayana Patriarch of Enigma Palace was using his life and blood to stall for time to protect Araki Takashi and fight against the 4 patriarchs of the primordial races. Although True Jade had the absolute upper hand against Li Ying of the Rakshasa race, it was difficult to determine the victor within a short period of time. Right now, the top sects and factions of Tianhuang mainland were gathered here. Even if any other factions arrived, it would not affect the situation. Therefore, even if the bell of Enigma Palace rang, no one noticed. The battle was getting more tragic. In just the time it took to brew a pot of tea, 7 of the 17 progenitors had fallen. The remaining patriarch Wu Hua and the others had their bodies torn apart at least once as well. Every single one of them was stained with blood, and their faces were pale. When they saw that, many cultivators seemed to recall the unparalleled battle between the human race and the primordial 9 races in the distant ancient era. The tragic scenes of mighty figures dying and patriarchs dying recorded in the ancient books were happening before everyone's eyes. However, it was far more shocking and tragic than those cold records. All the cultivators knew that the current battle was merely a test between the primordial 6 races and the patriarchs of the human race. The top Ancestor Realm experts had yet to appear. The emperors of the various races had yet to appear as well. Once late-stage and perfected Mahayana patriarchs appeared, the emperors would descend. At that time, the true battle would begin. Regardless of whether there were peace talks or not, there was a high chance that this convention of the 10,000 races would determine the future of Tianhuang mainland. It would determine the fate of the human race. Give up. Patriarch Li Ying clashed head-on with True Jade a few times and suffered greatly. He no longer fought her head-on, and instead used his movement technique to restrain her. True Jade was stronger than Patriarch Li Ying. However, there was no way he could suppress her completely. I'll be frank. Patriarch Li Ying had a disdainful expression as he pouted his lips. The patriarchs of the human race are merely stalling for time. Some of the top patriarchs of the primordial races have yet to appear. If they descend, even the emperors of the human race might not be able to defend against them. Patriarch Song Ming replied icily. During the ancient war, the primordial 9 races suffered great losses in the war against the taboos. That was why the human race had the opportunity to rise. To be more precise, if it weren't for the appearance of a peerless powerhouse like the human emperor, the human race would have been defeated long ago. At the mention of the human emperor, even the 5 patriarchs of the primordial races present had a trace of fear in their eyes. Even though the human emperor had already disappeared for countless years, his reputation was still awe-inspiring, causing the various primordial races to be extremely fearful. Ancestor Shun Yu shook his head and slowly said, "It's a pity that an anomaly like the human king is born. I don't know how much destiny is gathered for one to be born. And in this era, the human race's destiny is already exhausted. It's simply impossible for them to have a peerless powerhouse like the human emperor. You humans are finished. The destiny of the human race has come to an end. It has come to an end." All the cultivators were silent. Their faces dimmed. Even if Ancestor Shin Yu didn't point it out, they all knew what was going on. From all aspects, it could be seen that the destiny of the human race in this era was extremely weak. There was no vitality and they were lifeless. Most cultivators no longer had the heroic spirit of the ancient era. They no longer had the hot-blooded fighting spirit or the indomitable spirit. In fact, cracks had even appeared in the various major sects and factions of the cultivation world. All the cultivators were no longer united. All the signs were telling the world that the destiny of the human race was over. During this period of time, Araki Takashi rose and established the Wu Dao, imparting martial arts to all living beings and establishing the spirit of the Wu Dao, causing the cultivation world to have a hint of vitality. However, it was already too late. Wu Dao had only appeared a few hundred years ago. Although Araki Takashi was the #1 monster incarnate of history, he had yet to enter the Mahayana realm, and his future was uncertain. The primordial 6 races would not give the human race any more chances, or Araki Takashi any more time. Actually, that was the logic of the Great Tao, an eternal law of the world. Everything in the world declined after reaching its peak. In the primordial era, the 3 great taboos ran rampant, and the primordial 9 races ruled Tianhuang mainland. They were prosperous for a period of time, and eventually led to the primordial war. With the fall of the 3 great taboos, the primordial 9 races suffered a huge blow as well. The human race seized the opportunity to rise. After the ancient war, the primordial 9 races declined completely, and were trapped in a corner of Tianhuang mainland to recuperate. As for the human race, they dominated Tianhuang mainland for eons. Just like the primordial 9 races in the past, they were extremely strong. After a long time, they declined completely in this era as well. This was the trend of decline after reaching its peak, and was not something that could be reversed by humans. In the primordial era, even the 3 great taboos and primordial 9 races could not resist the suppression of this rumbling momentum. Patriarch Xunyu was right. The destiny of the human race was over in this era. It was impossible for such a thin destiny to give birth to a peerless expert like the human emperor. Unfortunately, there was an additional variable for the human race in this era. Many years ago, there was once a woman who came to Tianhuang mainland. In an inconspicuous town, she brought a scholar into cultivation and changed his fate for him. That woman tampered with the scholar's destiny. As for the scholar, he made a vow to change the fates of all living beings in the world. Therefore, everyone in Enigma Palace, including the old storyteller, could divine that the destiny of the human race was exhausted. However, they could not divine the fate of the scholar. That was the reason why the old storyteller told the scholar that he was the future hope of the human race. That was the reason why the Mahayana patriarchs of Enigma Palace were willing to do everything they could to protect the scholar, and not let him suffer any harm. Give up. Patriarch Xunyu looked at Patriarch Wu Hua, who was not far away, and said indifferently, "Your blood qi has declined, and is no longer enough to support your blood rebirth. No one can stop us from killing Araki Takashi." Who said that? Right then, a voice sounded from outside Enigma Palace. It sounded young and tender, as though the person who spoke was not old. The expressions of the living beings of the myriad races changed. Who would dare to stand on Araki Takashi's side at this moment, and go against the primordial 6 races? The living beings of the myriad races looked over. A group of living beings with majestic auras walked over from outside Enigma Palace. There were hundreds of them, and their bodies seemed to be shrouded in a layer of mist. When hundreds of living beings gathered together, it was like an unfathomable ocean. Although those living beings were in human form, they were clearly not humans, and were shrouded in demonic qi. Some of them were conjoint body mighty figures, and some were half-martial ancestor experts. The auras released by the hundreds of people were as vast as the ocean, and could fight against the primordial 6 races, without being disadvantaged at all. In the middle of the hundreds of living beings, stood a black-robed young man. He looked to be only 15 or 16 years old, and was rather handsome. His eyes were huge, watery and unusually lively. Many powerful living beings protected the black-robed young man, in the middle like stars surrounding him. Chapter 1590. The living beings of the 10,000 races frowned slightly, and could not tell the background of that group of living beings. However, the primordial 6 races present recognized them immediately. Kuan race. Patriarch Xunyu frowned slightly. Kuan race. Instantly, a commotion broke out in the crowd when the words Kuan race were mentioned. Over the years, although the primordial races had left their forbidden grounds frequently to fight for territory in Tianhuang mainland and kill, there were 3 primordial races that did not make a move at all. One of them was the Kuan race. Although Enigma Palace had sent an invitation to the Kuan race for the convention of the 10,000 races, they did not receive any reply. To think that the Kuan race would descend upon Enigma Palace today. The most important thing was the attitude of the Kuan race. As one of the primordial 9 races, if the Kuan race could stand on the side of the human race, their chances of negotiation would increase significantly. Even Enigma Palace understood that the Kuan race had no reason to stand on the side of the human race. Shen Yu and the others stopped fighting and looked towards the Kuan race. Patriarch Wu Hua and the others were already sweating profusely as they consumed elixirs hurriedly and regulated their breathing frantically to recover their stamina. Who was the one who spoke earlier on? Patriarch Golden Flame scanned the Kuan race with a fierce gaze and asked coldly. I did. The black-robed youth in the middle of the Kuan race pushed everyone aside and walked out, raising his head. Even against the questioning of the patriarch, the black-robed youth was fearless. The black-robed youth was none other than Carefree. Patriarch Golden Flame glared at him coldly with a disdainful expression and had no intention of bothering with him. The two of them were not on the same level at all. Patriarch Golden Flame looked at the other experts of the Kuan race and nodded gently. Welcome back, Kuan race. Join forces with the primordial 6 races. Golden Bird, what nonsense are you talking about? Carefree stuck his tongue out at Patriarch Golden Flame. The Kuan race won't join forces with you guys. Furthermore, you can't hurt him. Carefree pointed at the green lotus of creation that was still evolving not far away, and spoke in a firm tone. Patriarch Golden Flame's expression darkened. The living beings of the 10,000 races were shocked as well. They had never seen anyone who dared to call the patriarch of the Golden Crow race a golden bird. Hee. The Golden Crow clan's 10th crown prince could not help but chuckle. You're just a brat who's still wet behind the ears. You don't have the right to speak. How dare you? How dare you? Before Carefree could reply, the Kuan people behind him were enraged. They shouted angrily. This is the young master of the Kuan race. Watch your words. A Kuan race half-martial ancestor said coldly as he stared at the 10th prince with an unfriendly expression. Oh, the 10th crown prince looked at Xiaoyao from head to toe with a strange look in his eyes. Let alone the 10th crown prince. Even the beings of the myriad races revealed looks of astonishment. Prior to this, the various races lived in harmony. Most of the young masters of the primordial 9 races were at the Dharma characteristic realm, and some were even at the void reversion realm. However, with the advent of chaos, the powerful monsters of the various primordial races woke up from their seclusion. Those who could become young masters of the primordial races were at least at the conjoint body realm. After all, the young masters of the primordial races brought their clansmen to fight in Tianhuang mainland. If their cultivation realms were too weak, it would be difficult for them to achieve anything. The young masters were the faces of the primordial races. In the current chaotic world, it was strange for a young master like the Kuan race to be only at the Dharma characteristic realm. Xiaoyao looked at the 10th crown prince and pouted his lips as well. Look at your age, you're merely a brat. Where did you get the confidence to teach me a lesson? Although the 10th crown prince had the appearance of a child, he had cultivated for much longer than Xiaoyao. The 10th crown prince said coldly, I'm a half-martial ancestor while you're only at the Dharma characteristic realm. In this convention of the myriad races, the strong are respected. Even if you're the young master of the Kuan race, you're not qualified to speak. Listen to me, scram back to drink milk. Ha 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 ha. A series of laughter sounded from the crowd of the primordial 6 races. Everyone from the Kuan race was enraged. Some of the Kuan experts could not hold it in and wanted to stand out. However, Xiaoyao waved his hand and stopped them. I don't want to drink milk. Xiaoyao tilted his head slightly and looked at the 10th crown prince, saying seriously, I want to eat you. Your flesh should taste pretty good after roasting it over a fire. The 10th crown prince's expression darkened as he said coldly, You sure have a sharp tongue at such a young age. Night Spirit's gaze shifted and paused for a moment when it landed on Xiaoyao. It was not only the 10th crown prince. All the living beings present thought that Xiaoyao was merely saying it casually to anger the 10th crown prince. However, Night Spirit was the only one who knew that Xiaoyao truly wanted to eat the 10th crown prince. That was because he could sense an aura of his own kind from Xiaoyao. It was not of the same race but a taboo. This child should be the disciple that Big Brother took in. Night Spirit thought to himself. The 10th Crown Prince rolled his eyes and came up with a plan. Suddenly he smiled and said, "Little brother, since you want to eat me so badly, how about I give you a chance?" "What chance?" Xiaoyao could not help but ask. "I'll spar with you. If you win, I'll let you eat a piece of my flesh. How about that?" The 10th Crown Prince's voice was gentle and tempting Xiaoyao. However, there was a ferocious glint in the depths of his eyes. He was severely injured by Su Zimo earlier on, and his third leg was shattered, and his cultivation was crippled by more than half. Although he was still a half-martial ancestor, his combat strength had already fallen to the conjoint body realm. After the convention of the myriad races ended, his position as the 10th Crown Prince would definitely be replaced by another clansman. Therefore, he had been holding back his anger and resentment the entire time with nowhere to vent it. Right now, Xiaoyao's repeated provocations had aroused his killing intent. Of course, as the young master of the Kuan race, Xiaoyao would not kill him. However, if there was a chance, he could teach this brat of the Kuan race a lesson and vent his anger. But what if I lose? Xiaoyao seemed to be hesitant and afraid. "If you lose, I won't make things difficult for you. Don't worry." The smile in the 10th Crown Prince's eyes intensified. At the end of the day, this brat was too young and inexperienced. Pondering for a moment, Xiaoyao continued, "However, what if I can't hold back during the spar?" "Don't worry," the 10th Crown Prince said hurriedly. "I'll definitely control my strength well." "I'm worried that I won't know my limits." Xiaoyao blinked. "Haha." The 10th Crown Prince burst into laughter. "It's fine. Little brother, you can attack as you wish. There's no need to be mindful of your limits." The 10th Crown Prince could tell that this brat of the Kuan race was tempted. "All right then, I'll give it a try." Xiaoyao hesitated for a moment before nodding vigorously, as though he had made up his mind. "Young master, you have a noble status. You can't take the risk." "That's right, young master. There's a major cultivation realm difference between the two of you. You're not on the same level at all." A few Kuan race beings behind Xiaoyao stood out hurriedly and stopped him. "Everyone, don't worry." Afraid that Xiaoyao would go back on his word, the 10th Crown Prince said hurriedly, "I promise that I won't use strength above the conjoint body realm. I'll only use strength at the Dharma characteristic realm to play with this brother." "Uncles, don't worry." Xiaoyao blinked at the experts of the Kuan race behind him with a sly look in his eyes. Chapter 1591. When the Kuan warriors saw Carefree's expression, they couldn't help but shudder. In the Northern Sea, whenever this little ancestor showed such an expression, it meant that he was plotting something. Countless members of the Kuan race had suffered greatly at the hands of this little ancestor. The Kuan elites exchanged glances and did not speak. They silently mourned for the 10th prince. Xiaoyao turned around and took a few steps toward the 10th prince. He stopped and said, "I've only cultivated for a short period of time. I really don't know my limits. Why don't we stop sparring? If we hurt each other, won't we hurt each other?" At this point, the 10th prince would not let Xiaoyao leave so easily. The 10th prince hurriedly said, "It's fine. Use whatever tricks you have. Don't hold back. Don't even talk about hurting me. Even if you can take my life, that's your own ability." "I see." Carefree nodded and said, "Go ahead." Xiaoyao stood still and clenched his fists. He got into a stance and stared at the 10th prince, ready to attack. The 10th prince looked at the Kuan tribesman and suddenly said, "Let's make this clear. Outsiders are not to interfere in our sparring." "Don't worry, we won't interfere." The experts of the Kuan tribe nodded and looked at the 10th Crown Prince strangely. Forefather Shin Yu and the others did not take this incident to heart. They were still wondering why the Kuan tribesman would help Araki Takashi. But for some reason, Forefather Golden Flame frowned when he saw the reactions of the Kuan elites. He felt that something was amiss. Could it be that this little Kuan brat is hiding his true strength and wants to play the pig to eat the tiger? Forefather Golden Flame's gaze landed on Xiaoyao again. After all, he could not have become the young lord of a primordial race if he did not have some outstanding qualities. However, Even after he scanned the area with his divine sense several times, he still found nothing. This Kuan youth in black was in the Dharma characteristic realm. He had not hidden his strength at all. I must be overthinking. Forefather Golden Flame shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Besides, even if this Kuan brat had some tricks up his sleeve, he could not threaten the crown prince of the Golden Crows. On the battlefield, the 10th prince smirked and walked towards Carefree Demon slowly. Indeed, he did not reveal his conjoint body realm aura and strength as he said softly, "Little brother of the Kuan race, don't be nervous. Relax, relax." Carefree was still unmoved. He stared at the 10th prince without blinking. Suddenly, the 10th crown prince's figure flickered a little and turned into a golden light, disappearing from where he stood. The speed was too fast. Even if the 10th prince did not revert to his true form and only used the strength of a Dharma characteristic, his speed was still much faster than the Dharma Daojuan's. Carefree's eyes widened. He stared blankly at the spot where the 10th crown prince had disappeared. He didn't seem to be able to react. Alas! Patriarch Wu Hua's eyes dimmed. He sighed and thought, what is the Kuan race thinking? Why would they send a child? It's over. Ling Hu slapped his thigh and said, this child doesn't have any combat experience at all. He's a complete fledgling. He's going to suffer greatly. Not necessarily. Suddenly Night Spirit spoke. Right then, the 10th crown prince's figure had already appeared behind Carefree. With a menacing smile, he reached out and grabbed Carefree's neck. All of a sudden, the blood chi of the seemingly frail Carefree surged and burst forth instantly, as though a tsunami had been set off in a terrifying manner. Carefree spun around suddenly. His initial head had already disappeared and was replaced by the head of a menacing behemoth. It opened its mouth as though it wanted to devour the world. The behemoth head looked exactly the same as the Kuan race's. The 10th crown prince felt a stench rush at his face, and his vision darkened. His pupils constricted, and his heart stopped beating. The aura emitted by the behemoth made his heart skip a beat. This was a suppression that came from his bloodline. A fear that came from the depths of his soul burst forth. There was no time to think. The 10th crown prince did not care about his promise, and burst forth with the blood chi of a conjoint body, wanting to retreat. However, he suddenly felt an extremely terrifying suction force burst forth from the behemoth's mouth. His figure actually paused for a moment, and he was unable to escape at the first moment. The next moment darkness descended. The behemoth's mouth closed. Smack! The hearts of the living beings of the myriad races skipped a beat with that deafening sound. All of them were pale and dumbfounded as they watched everything unfold. Their jaws almost dropped to the ground, and they were completely dumbfounded. In the blink of an eye, the behemoth's head vanished, and the handsome young face returned to everyone's vision. Carefree smacked his lips and wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth, murmuring softly, the taste of raw food is indeed ordinary. I should roast it. Instantly, the crowd exploded and caused an uproar. It was only at this moment that the living beings of the myriad races realized that the 10th crown prince of the Golden Crow race was devoured alive by the black-robed youth. Ling Hu was already so shocked that he could not speak. He turned to Night Spirit and said, Fifth, you're the best. How did you tell? Night Spirit said indifferently, the 10th crown prince's third leg was shattered and his cultivation was crippled by more than half. Coupled with the fact that he underestimated his opponent and did not even conjure his true body, it was only natural that he died. Ling Hu grinned and murmured, even so, this lad is still terrifyingly strong, right? There was another reason that Night Spirit naturally did not mention. If Carefree was only an ordinary Kuan race being, just now that the 10th crown prince released his blood chi and wanted to break free, Carefree would not have been able to stop him. However, Carefree was a Kuan Peng. He possessed the power of Supreme Yin and Supreme Yang, and the devouring power released by the fusion of Yin and Yang was something that even the conjoint body realm 10th crown prince could not break free from immediately. He merely paused for a moment before he was devoured by Carefree. His corpse was truly destroyed, and even his essence spirit could not escape. This child is way too ruthless. The 10th crown prince of the Golden Crow race merely wanted to spar, but he was eaten by this child. The 10th Crown Prince sure died with grievances. The living beings of the myriad races discussed. Carefree had just been born, and was too young to conjure a complete Kuan-Pung form. He merely conjured a head that looked no different from the head of the Kuan race. For example, Night Spirit looked like a gigantic black dog when he was young. Therefore, the patriarchs of the primordial races present could not sense Carefree's true identity. Patriarch Golden Flame's expression darkened as he glared at Carefree. It was nothing much for the 10th Crown Prince to die. However, just now, when Carefree conjured the gigantic beast head, it was filled with an extremely ancient aura that caused him to feel fear. Could it be? Patriarch Golden Flame thought of a possibility but rejected it immediately. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Chapter 1592. Patriarch Golden Flame turned to look at Patriarch Xinyu and the others. The other patriarchs were also shocked. They seemed to have thought of something, but did not dare to confirm it. The death of the 10th Crown Prince infuriated many Golden Crows. 4 princes of the Golden Crow race had arrived for the convention of the 10,000 races this time round. One was killed by the Azura, one was killed by Desolate Marshal, and now, another was eaten alive by a brat of the Kuan race. Of the 4 crown princes, only the 7th crown prince remained. The Golden Crows had suffered a great loss. The 7th crown prince said coldly, "Kid from the Kuan race, you're so cruel. You can't blame me." Carefree blinked and said, "I've repeatedly said that I've only cultivated for a short time and didn't control my strength. He was the one who insisted on sparring." "You." The 7th crown prince was furious. Carefree continued, "Everyone in the myriad races saw this. I don't want to fight. Also, the Golden Bird said that if I can kill him, it'll be because I'm capable." "Yes, we all heard it. You can't blame the kid for this. What does a kid know? He didn't control his strength and was weaker than others. He can't blame others for his death." Monkey and the others gloated and jeered. "Don't talk nonsense with him. Go test his strength and force this brat to show his true form." Patriarch Golden Flame sent a message to the 7th Crown Prince with his divine consciousness. The 7th Crown Prince understood. He stared at Carefree and said coldly, "Since you're so capable, I'll try too. I'm not playing anymore." Carefree made a face at the 7th Crown Prince and turned to run. In the blink of an eye, he was surrounded by the Kuan race cultivators. Hundreds of Kuan warriors protected Xiaoyao in the middle as they glared at the 7th Crown Prince in midair. No matter how strong the 7th Crown Prince was, he did not dare to force his way in. Moreover, he had just been beaten up badly by Araki Takashi and had not recovered to his peak state. The 7th Crown Prince's face was ashen, but he quickly calmed down and laughed mockingly. "The young master of the Kuan race is actually so cowardly. Aren't you afraid of embarrassing the Kuan race?" "I'm a child." Carefree stuck out his tongue and said, "My cultivation is inferior to yours, so I naturally have to flee. Besides, you Golden Birds don't keep your word. You're so anxious after losing. I'm not going to play with you anymore." The 7th Crown Prince's body swayed. He was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "Hee hee." Patriarch Golden Flame suddenly laughed and said, "Kuan brats, you are indeed sharp-tongued and impudent. Since that's the case, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of the elders of the Kuan race." Hearing this, all the beings of the myriad races were shocked. A young man at the Dharma characteristic realm had provoked the patriarch of the primordial races to personally take action. No matter how one looked at it, there was something unusual about this matter. However, the beings of the myriad races did not understand the reason behind this. Patriarch Golden Flame's so-called lesson was, of course, just an excuse. His goal was to see what Carefree's real body was. Patriarch Golden Flames, as an Ancestor Realm expert, aren't you being too much of a bully for wanting to deal with a child at the Dharma characteristic realm? Patriarch Golden Flames, please conduct yourself with dignity. If word gets out that you're bullying the weak, you'll definitely attract endless ridicule and tarnish the reputation of the Golden Crow race. A few half-martial ancestors of the Kuan race stood out and glared at Patriarch Golden Flames, who was not far away with grim expressions, saying loudly, "Humph." Patriarch Golden Flame's figure flashed and suddenly descended above the Kuan race. He released the might of an ancestor realm and said coldly, "Scram, you guys have no right to speak." Ugh. The few half-martial ancestors of the Kuan race grunted with terrible expressions. However, the few half-martial ancestors of the Kuan race did not retreat. Instead, they summoned their destiny dermic weapons and protected Carefree behind them. "How dare a few smelly fishes like you try to stop me?" Patriarch Golden Flame sneered and his spirit consciousness moved. Suddenly, beams of golden light burst forth from his body and struck the destiny dermic weapons of the few half-martial ancestors of the Kuan race. Clang! 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 The half-martial ancestors of the Kuan race shuddered, and their destiny dermic weapons flew out of their hands, as they could not withstand the impact. Golden flames burned on the bodies of these intrinsic dermic weapons. In the blink of an eye, they were burned through and turned red. The destiny dermic weapons splattered everywhere and landed among the Kuan race crowd, causing chaos. Patriarch Golden Flame's expression was cold as he flashed through the chaos of the Kuan race and arrived before Carefree. Opening his palm, he grabbed towards Carefree's face. "Brat, since you're so bold, I'll give you a chance to eat my flesh." Patriarch Golden Flame's gaze was cold and murderous, without any intention of holding back. He wanted to force Carefree's true body out. "Golden Flames, you've gone overboard." At this moment, a cold voice came from behind Carefree. Immediately after, the void tore open and an arm extended. Clenching his palm into a fist, it crossed Carefree's shoulder and collided against Patriarch Golden Flame's palm. Bang! A dull thud sounded when the fist and palm collided. "Arg!" Patriarch Golden Flame cried out in pain. His body flew up into the air and instantly flashed dozens of feet away. His face was gloomy as he stared at the void crack behind Carefree. The power of that punch was extremely strong, like a vast ocean that seemed to have no end. He could not block it. A silver-haired woman walked out of the void with a cold expression. Although she was not as beautiful as Yuluosha, she was still a rare beauty. "Sister, you're here." Carefree could not help but cheer when he saw the silver-haired woman. Pointing at Patriarch Golden Flames, he said, "This golden bird is bullying me. Sister, help me teach him a lesson." "Inlan, it's you?" Patriarch Golden Flames frowned slightly. "I didn't expect you to have entered the progenitor realm, after not seeing you for so many years. The younger generation will surpass us in time." The silver-haired woman called Inlan said indifferently, "You and I are of the same cultivation realm. There's no need to put on airs with me. I won't fall for it." "You came at the right time." Patriarch Golden Flames pointed at Carefree and said in a low voice, "What's wrong with your young lord? He came here and spouted nonsense. Not only did he want to help Araki Takashi of the human race, but he also suddenly attacked and ate the 10th prince of the Golden Crows. Although I wasn't there, I could guess that it was your 10th prince who provoked him first." Inlan sneered. Patriarch Golden Flame snorted coldly. "Even so, this kid's attack is too ruthless. Your 10th prince is a half-progenitor, but he was killed by Dharma Daojun. You still have the face to seek revenge?" Inlan sneered again. "Let me tell you, even if Carefree was in the wrong, the Kuan race should be the one to punish him. Who do you think you are to come here and teach our young lord a lesson?" Inlan's words were sharp, not giving Patriarch Golden Flames any face. Chapter 1593. Inlan was truly enraged. If Xiao Yao was an ordinary Kuan, it was nothing much. However, Xiao Yao's true form was a forbidden Kuan Peng, and the entire Kuan race cherished him in their palms, afraid that something would happen to him. If Patriarch Golden Flame truly injured Xiao Yao, it would not be enough to make up for the losses, even if he was killed. Furthermore, Patriarch Golden Flame was an ancestor realm expert. The fact that he would personally deal with the Dharma Daojun enraged Inlan. Patriarch Golden Flame's expression darkened completely as well. Although the two of them were of the same cultivation level, he was still embarrassed to be berated like this in front of so many people. "All right." Patriarch Shinyu stood out and smiled gently to smooth things over. "Everyone take a step back. The 10th prince of the Golden Crow race is dead and Golden Flame is enraged. It's understandable for him to act rashly. Yinlan, we're all from the primordial 9 races. There's no need to be hostile right from the start. Patriarch Xinyu stood out. Although Patriarch Golden Flame was unwilling, he did not continue arguing with Yinlan. Most importantly, he did not have much of a chance of winning against Yinlan. The blood qi of the Kuan race was way too strong, and was as vast as the sea. Only Protoss could match them. Patriarch Xinyu changed the topic. However, your young master of the Kuan race is young, and probably doesn't know much about the cultivation world. Araki Takashi is a great enemy of the primordial 6 races. The primordial 6 races have jointly issued a kill order, and Araki Takashi is someone we must kill. It doesn't make sense for your young master of the Kuan race to protect him. Yinlan, you came at the right time. Bring him back and teach him a lesson. Yinlan was expressionless. After hearing Patriarch Xinyu's words, he said slowly, "You guys can't kill Araki Takashi. Xiao Yao's wishes are the Kuan race's wishes." Patriarch Xinyu narrowed his eyes. The reason why he did not want to get into a conflict with the Kuan race was because he wanted to rope them in. To think that the Kuan race would be so insensible as to stand on Araki Takashi's side. The patriarchs of the other 4 races had hostile expressions as well. In that case, the Kuan race is bent on going against the primordial 6 races? Heavenly Shaman Ancestor asked. You're exaggerating. Yinlan said. The Kuan race only wants to protect Araki Takashi. As for anything else, the Kuan race will not interfere. Hehe. Patriarch Songming chuckled, and the heavenly eye in his glabella seemed like it was about to open. Killing intent filled the air as he said coldly, "Do you think the Kuan race can protect someone that the primordial 6 races want to kill?" Yinlan took a deep breath and said slowly, "Do your best." At this moment, the lotus petals at the top of the Fortune Qinglian on the battlefield suddenly began to wither and fall. The entire Fortune Qinglian was also withering. Araki Takashi's Qinglian true form failed to break through? Since ancient times, only the ancient Buddha Emperor was able to nurture an 8th-grade green lotus of creation. Araki Takashi is only a half-martial ancestor, and it's only logical for him to fail if he wants to nurture a grade 8 true form. How can it be that easy to advance from a grade 7 to grade 8? This is the outcome of overestimating himself. The living beings of the 10,000 races shook their heads. Some were regretful while others sneered. In midair, Patriarch Xinyu and the others exchanged glances and heaved a sigh of relief. If Araki Takashi died just like that, they would not have to do anything. What should we do? Little Fox was so anxious that she was about to cry. Will young master be fine if the Fortune Qinglian true form fails to advance? Monkey and the rest remained silent with solemn expressions. The Fortune Qinglian true form was Su Zimo. Su Zimo was the Fortune Qinglian true form. If the Fortune Qinglian true form withered, there was a high chance that Su Zimo would die as well. Patrons, there's no need to worry. Right then, Ming Zhen's voice sounded in the minds of Monkey and the others. The Fortune Qinglian true form possesses the creations of heaven and earth. Each time it advances, it has to undergo a reincarnation and metamorphosis. As though it was proving the truth, the almost withered Qinglian true form suddenly burst forth with vitality. The withered lotus leaves withered and regrew with even more tender green leaves. They were filled with vitality and grew at an extremely fast speed. The aura of the Fortune Qinglian true form rose continuously. The living beings of the 10,000 races were shocked as all their gazes landed on the Fortune Qinglian true form. A pink bud grew at the top of the Fortune Qinglian true form and was tainted with sparkling dew. Right in front of everyone it bloomed slowly. The outermost circle of lotus petals bloomed. Immediately after, the second circle of lotus petals bloomed. The third circle. The 7th circle did not stop yet. The living beings of the 10,000 races could clearly see that there was still a final circle of lotus petals that had yet to bloom on the lotus platform. Immediately after, the 8th circle of lotus petals bloomed, and a resplendent glow filled the air with auspicious colors. Instantly the world trembled. Suddenly, green lotus flowers that resembled jade descended from the skies one after another. They fluttered and descended upon Enigma Palace in a vast expanse, that was extremely spectacular. The living beings of the 10,000 races were dumbfounded. An auspicious sign descending from the heavens, Patriarch Divine Universe exclaimed as well. The grade 7 creation Qinglian true form transformed into a grade 8 and caused a universal phenomenon to descend with auspicious signs. Even for the ancestor realm experts present, this was the first time they were witnessing such a spectacle, let alone the living beings of the 10,000 races. Most importantly, all the ancestor realm experts present here actually sensed a strand of vast divine ability energy from these lotuses that drifted down from the sky. This, Patriarch Divine Universe, and the others were shocked. Of course, they knew that the divine power was definitely not released by the Araki Takeshi. The power of that divine power had most likely surpassed minor divine powers and reached the level of major divine powers. However, the meaning behind it was too terrifying. If this divine power was nurtured by the grade 8 creation Qinglian true form, Araki Takeshi would not be obstructed at all when comprehending this great divine power. One had to know that cultivators would need a long time to accumulate, comprehend, and consolidate if they wanted to comprehend divine powers. During this process, they might encounter countless obstacles and difficulties. Many Mahayana patriarchs might need hundreds, thousands, or even 10,000 years to comprehend a divine power. However, Araki Takeshi did not need to comprehend it at all. That was because he was the creation Qinglian true form. As long as he continued to grow, he would naturally comprehend this great divine power. Everything would happen naturally. This great divine power was like Araki Takeshi's talent. Look, right then, a shout sounded from the crowd. The living beings of the 10,000 races pointed at the creation Qinglian true form, in the world with widened eyes, filled with endless shock. The grade 8 creation Qinglian true form had already bloomed completely. On the jade green lotus platform, a figure sat upright. That person was dressed in green robes and had black hair. His eyes were closed as he sat cross-legged with his hands casually placed on his knees with his palms facing the sky. His skin was crystalline and flawless. Under the falling lotus flowers, the figure was like a god. His entire body shone with a green glow as he sat on the creation Qinglian true form. His body was shrouded in auspicious light and could not be looked at directly. When they saw that, the living beings of the 10,000 races felt a sense of worship in their hearts. Chapter 1594. All of a sudden, a strong gust of wind gusted above the 9 heavens, causing the creation Qinglian to sway left and right and dim her glow. The gust of wind rose suddenly and was as sharp as a blade and all. It surged into Su Zimo's body from the top of his head. Ugh! On the lotus platform, Su Zimo's body swayed and he grunted. He frowned slightly with a pained expression. That's the heavenly astral wind. The divine power tribulation, the 3 calamities of Taoism. Heavens! Araki Takeshi is going to make use of this opportunity to break through to the Mahayana realm. Among the crowd, some half-martial ancestors recognized the origin of the gust of wind above the 9 heavens and exclaimed. All the half-martial ancestors knew that human cultivators had to undergo the divine power tribulation and the 3 calamities of Taoism if they wanted to advance to the Mahayana realm. Throughout history, the number of half-martial ancestors that died in the 3 calamities of Taoism was as vast as the sea and uncountable. Prior to this, breaking through a major cultivation realm was extremely difficult and dangerous. However, none of them were called tribulations. The reason why the 3 calamities of Taoism were called divine power tribulations was because there was a slim chance of survival. Once they failed, there was almost no chance of survival. Many half-martial ancestors sensed that they would not be able to transcend the divine power tribulation and chose not to forcefully break through, waiting for their lifespans to be exhausted before passing away. After all, they still had many years to live after their lifespans were exhausted. Once they failed the tribulation, they would die immediately. If one wanted to break through to the Mahayana realm, not only did they require shocking talent and a strong foundation, they also required immense courage. The reason why the living beings of the 10,000 races were so shocked was because they had not expected Su Zimo to choose to break through to the Mahayana realm despite being surrounded by powerful enemies during the convention of the 10,000 races. Even if no one interfered, there was a slim chance of survival after experiencing the divine power tribulation. Furthermore, the primordial 6 races were eyeing him covetously and wanted to kill him. Actually, it was not that Su Zimo wanted to break through at this moment. Instead, after the creation Qinglian transformed to grade 8, the creation Lotus platform transformed as well, and an endless stream of energy nourished the black-haired essence spirit wildly. The energy was way too vast, and the black-haired essence spirit could not withstand it at all. He could not suppress his cultivation realm, and had to break through. Wang. The heavenly eye on Patriarch Songming's forehead suddenly opened, and emitted a beam of black light that shot towards Su Zimo, who was undergoing his tribulation. The patriarch of the primordial race would never allow Su Zimo to step into the Mahayana realm. Regardless of whether Su Zimo could successfully transcend the tribulation or not, they had to interrupt him. Suddenly, the power of another divine ability descended. In front of the black light, a huge ice wall instantly rose up. It was as tall as 1,000 blades and blocked the black light. True Jade appeared in front of Su Zimo. Her heart had always been on Su Zimo. When Patriarch Songming made the slightest move, she had already sensed it and acted immediately. Ka. Although the ice wall managed to block the power of the heavenly eye, cracks appeared on the ice wall, and it collapsed in an instant. As an ancestor, you actually launched a sneak attack while others were unprepared. How despicable. True Jade said coldly. Sister, hurry and help. We can't let anything happen to Master. Carefree had a nervous expression, and hurriedly sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. Yinlan nodded gently and leaped up as well. Standing beside True Jade, she looked at Patriarch Xinyu and the other 4. Patriarch Wuxia and the others stood up one after another and surrounded Su Zimo in the middle. They wielded their destiny dermic weapons with grim expressions. Leave that white blouse woman to me. Patriarch Li Ying of the Rakshasa race smirked and licked his lips as he looked at True Jade. Patriarch Xinyu nodded gently. Leave Yinlan to me. As for the remaining 10 patriarchs of the human race, don't worry, Patriarch Golden Flame said coldly. If the 3 of us attack with our full strength, all 10 patriarchs of the human race will die here in less than an hour. Wuhua give up. Right then, a series of cracks appeared in the void and many Mahayana patriarchs of the human race walked out one after another. Heavenly Dipper sect, Malevolent Earth sect, and even Punglai Island. One after another, right in front of everyone. The number of Mahayana patriarchs of the 3 super sects had already exceeded 100. Among them, there were not only early stage, mid-stage, late stage and perfected Mahayana patriarchs. With so many Mahayana patriarchs descending on Enigma Palace, the living beings of the myriad races realized that this convention was no longer something they could control. This was a contest between the ancestor realm experts of the various major sects and factions. Roar! Roar! A series of earth-shattering roars rang out. A gigantic peacock sped over from the south. It was 1,000 feet tall and was abnormally agile. Every single peacock feather on its body shone with a strange luster. It was Demon Ancestor Void Spirit of Peacock Ridge, one of the 8 demon regions. In the west, a gigantic spider moved its 8 legs and rushed towards Enigma Palace, causing dust to billow. It was Demon Ancestor Zhu Fa of the 1,000 Spider Sand Dune. In the east, a scarlet glow filled the skies. In the blink of an eye, it had already arrived. It was a goshawk with scarlet wings, and was extraordinary. East region Demon Ancestor Scarlet Feather. In the north, demonic chi surged and a lion covered in golden fur appeared in the mountain range, roaring into the skies. Wild Lion Ridge, Demon Ancestor Rampaging Heaven. One after another, people from the 8 demon regions arrived. All of them were Demon Ancestor experts. Patriarch Moonfall, Patriarch Fei Duan, Patriarch Su Jing, all of you. Patriarch Wu Hua was shocked when he saw more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs from Heavenly Dipper sect, Malevolent Earth sect, and Punglai Island rushing over. Some of these Mahayana patriarchs were ancestor realm experts who had been famous for a long time. In fact, they had even left their names on the divine powers ranking. Emperors would not be included on the divine powers ranking. In other words, the 36 ranks of the divine powers ranking were all Mahayana patriarchs. For example, Patriarch Moonfall of Heavenly Dipper sect was ranked 34 on the divine powers ranking. Patriarch Fei Duan of Malevolent Earth sect was ranked 27 on the divine powers ranking. Patriarch Su Jing of Penglai Island was ranked 21 on the divine powers ranking. The three of them were all perfected Mahayana patriarchs. Each of them had comprehended more than 10 great divine powers. Patriarch Moonfall, what's the meaning of this? Patriarch Wuxia asked in a deep voice. Nothing. Patriarch Moonfall was a middle-aged beauty with a snow-white kitten in her arms. She stroked the kitten's forehead from time to time and said indifferently, "We're naturally here to participate in the convention of the myriad races." When Patriarch Shen Yu and the others saw this, they exchanged glances with smiles, and were in no hurry to attack. Patriarch Fei Duan of Malevolent Earth sect had a cold expression. Wuhua, move aside. Araki Takashi must die today. Why? Patriarch Wuhua said in a deep voice. What did Araki Takashi do wrong for so many Mahayana patriarchs to want him dead? Don't forget that Araki Takashi once founded the Wu Dao and imparted martial arts to all living beings. Even you and I cannot compare to his contributions to the human race. However, he still has to die. Patriarch Su Jing of Penglai Island said. Only with Araki Takashi's death can we temporarily put aside the feud between us and the primordial 6 races, and the convention of the myriad races can proceed smoothly. Chapter 1595. This time round, even True Jade's expression changed. She was only at the mid-stage Mahayana realm, and had yet to comprehend any great divine powers. She could not even defend against some of the late-stage Mahayana realm experts behind them, let alone the 3 experts on the divine powers, ranking leading the way. This convention of the myriad races had finally alarmed the top experts of Tianhuang mainland. Those Mahayana realm patriarchs were usually in seclusion in the ancient battlefield to comprehend divine powers. Unless their sects were destroyed, they would not appear in Tianhuang mainland. To think that more than 100 of them would come together today, Yinlan frowned as well. Although she was from the Kuan race, she was only at early-stage Mahayana realm, and did not have much of a chance of winning against late-stage Mahayana realm humans. Fellow Taoists, Patriarch Wuhua cupped his fists towards the 100-odd Mahayana realm patriarchs opposite, and said in a deep voice, even if we kill Araki Takashi, the primordial 6 races won't negotiate with us. Araki Takashi is not the only reason for what happened today. Suddenly Patriarch Wu Tian said, however, if we want to negotiate, we have to let the primordial 6 races see the sincerity of the human race. If you can't even bear to kill Araki Takashi at half-martial ancestor realm, where's the sincerity of the human race? Did you hear that? Patriarch Yuluo stroked the kitten in his arms and said indifferently, if we kill Araki Takashi, there's a chance for us to sit down and negotiate with the primordial 6 races. If we don't kill Araki Takashi, we won't even have that chance. Patriarch Su Jing said, since Araki Takashi has the boldness to impart martial arts to all living beings, there's nothing wrong with him sacrificing himself today to help the human race. That's right. Patriarch Fei Duan nodded as well. Killing Araki Takashi will prevent us from killing one another, and might even prevent us from clashing with the primordial 6 races. What's there to hesitate about? Those words were nauseating. However, the 3 patriarchs did not mind it at all, as though it was only right. What a load of nonsense! Patriarch Wuhua sneered. To think that the 3 of you can say such shameless words. To think that you're ranked on the divine powers ranking, and are patriarchs of the human race. What are you delaying for? Hurry up and kill this Araki Takashi. Ancestor Zhu Fa of the 1,000 Spider Sand Dune sneered. Not bad. Void Spirit Beast nodded slightly and said, it's a rare opportunity to attend the convention of 10,000 tribes. How can we ruin it for a single person? The other demon ancestors also expressed their opinions. Apart from the Mad Sky demonic progenitor of the Wild Lion Ridge, the rest of the demonic progenitors all agreed to kill Araki Takeshi. At this moment, above the green lotus of creation, the heavenly dipper wind that surged above the 9 heavens finally dissipated. Suzumo quickly healed the wounds in his body, and his trembling body gradually calmed down. While the patriarchs were negotiating, Suzumo had already passed the first of the 3 Taoist disasters. After the wind tribulation was the fire tribulation. If he couldn't pass the wind tribulation, there was still a chance for him to survive. However, if he failed the fire tribulation, he would be reduced to ashes without a corpse. This was not an ordinary fire, but an earth-malevolent fire. It was born from a spring beneath one's feet, and entered the heavens, penetrating one's entire body, and burning one's organs, meridians, limbs and orifices. It was the most dangerous. Swoosh! The earth-malevolent fire surged and burst forth from Suzumo's body. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped his entire body and burned furiously. Right then, Suzumo slapped his storage bag, and took out a black but exquisite fruit. Ah, that seems to be malevolent spirit fruit. The living beings of the 10,000 races watched and exclaimed when they saw that fruit. The malevolent spirit fruit was way too attractive for half-martial ancestors. It was an unparalleled treasure. That was because if one consumed a malevolent spirit fruit during the second tribulation of the divine power tribulation, the chances of transcending the tribulation would increase by at least 30%. For ordinary cultivators, the malevolent spirit fruit was completely useless. It was a poisonous fruit. However, if consumed during the tribulation, it could neutralize the earth-malevolent fire in one's body. It was extremely mysterious. Be it humans or demons, as long as they were half-martial ancestors, they would be envious. However, the moment they recognized the malevolent spirit fruit, Suzumo had already eaten it. Sigh! The living beings of the 10,000 races sighed to themselves. When they saw that, Patriarch Shinyu and the others frowned slightly and revealed impatient expressions. Why aren't you guys killing that Araki Takeshi? What are you guys waiting for? Patriarch Shinyu glared at Patriarch Yuluo of Heavenly Dipper sect and berated. Although Patriarch Yuluo's cultivation and combat strength were stronger than Patriarch Shinyu's, he lowered his head at that moment and replied softly, not daring to refute. Wuhua! Patriarch Yuluo said coldly. If you guys aren't moving, don't blame us for attacking. How dare you? Patriarch Wuhua hollered and widened his eyes, saying in a deep voice, Enigma Palace has a top ancestor realm expert as well. If you guys dare to attack, it's not like Enigma Palace has no one. Fufu. Seems like you haven't figured out the situation yet. Patriarch Su Jing sneered and said, Today, even if Enigma Palace mobilizes the entire sect, you won't be able to protect him. Araki Takeshi will definitely die today. Patriarch Fei Duan had a menacing expression and a ferocious glint in his eyes. He waved his hand and said, Kill! Who dares to kill me? Right then, a loud roar sounded from the distant skies. It shook the 9 heavens and shocked the surroundings. Roar! A deafening roar sounded. It was like the roar of a dragon and the cry of a phoenix. It was incomparably majestic, piercing through metal and rocks and shocking the surroundings. When the roar sounded, all the living beings of the 10,000 races felt their hearts skip a beat and looked towards the sound instinctively. Boom! 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 A series of dull sounds could be heard. Each time it sounded, the ground would tremble and countless gravel would jump up from the ground. On the distant horizon, tall figures appeared one after another. They were topless and had terrifying auras. They were majestic and were unshakable like mountains. Those towering living beings were striding towards Enigma Palace. A single stride was enough to cross a mountain range. One of the primordial 9 races, the barbarian race. The Protoss goddess Xiaoxiang stood up with joy and clenched her fists. It's Huang Tian. Huang Tian has brought the barbarian race to participate in the convention of the myriad races. Oh, 7th Prince, Remnant Eye, young Master Gui Wu, Yuluo Sha and the others turned to look. Goddess Xiao Xiang said proudly. The reason why Huang Tian did not come with me is because he has an important mission to head to the barbarian race and persuade them to join forces with the primordial 6 races. Now that the barbarian race has appeared, it proves that Huang Tian has succeeded. Impressive. Impressive. 7th Prince, young Master Gui Wu, and the others cupped their fists and praised. However, what was that dragon roar earlier on? Yu Luosha frowned slightly and asked. Roar. Right then, another series of dragon roars sounded from behind the tall figures of the barbarian race. One after another, gigantic divine dragons soared into the clouds, and there were hundreds of them. They coiled above the heads of the barbarian race and sped towards Enigma Palace. Leading them was a scarlet illumination dragon. On the neck of the illumination dragon sat a man with scarlet hair and a burning gaze. His aura was torrential as he looked down in all directions and exuded a scorching and berserk might. His appearance was identical to Su Zimo's. The dragon phoenix true body had arrived at Enigma Palace. Chapter 1596. After the battle at Heaven and Earth Valley, the 2 true bodies of the dragon phoenix and Qinglian were reunited for the first time. All the living beings of the 10,000 races had heard that Araki Takashi of the cultivation world had 2 true bodies, and one of them even became the young master of dragons. However, there were not many people who witnessed the reunion of the 2 true bodies personally. Of course, apart from the primordial 6 races and Penglai Island, the other races, including the cultivation world, did not know that the dragon phoenix true body had already grown into a taboo. In their understanding, they thought that Long Mo was just a pure dragon. That's Araki Takashi's dragon's true body? Indeed, there's no difference in looks. However, there's a huge difference in aura. Qinglian's true body and the dragon's true body. Which one is Araki Takashi's true body? I'm not sure. It should be Qinglian's true body. The living beings of the 10,000 races discuss fervently. This is going to be interesting. Araki Takashi's dragon's true body is leading the dragons over. He's going to fall out with the primordial 6 races completely. It's just a single dragon. I'm afraid it's useless. That's right. I heard from the Protoss that the barbarian race is preparing to join forces with the primordial 6 races as well. No matter what, given Araki Takashi's personality, there's going to be a fierce battle. The aura of that dragon's true body is at the ancestor realm. When the dragon phoenix true body arrived, a cultivator finally sensed it and exclaimed, Araki Takashi's true body has already entered the Mahayana realm. Patriarch Shinyu and the others narrowed their eyes and glared at the dragon phoenix true body warily as well. Although they were also at the early stage Mahayana realm, the primordial races knew that the true body of the dragon phoenix true body was a primordial taboo. We're probably not a match for him in a one-on-one fight. Patriarch Shinyu sent a voice transmission secretly. Let's be careful. If that dragon phoenix truly dares to attack, the 5 of us should be able to suppress him together. Yes. Patriarch Golden Flame and the others nodded. Heavenly Shaman Patriarch sneered and said, It doesn't matter. There are still patriarchs from the Heavenly Dipper sect. Let them play with this forbidden beast. The 5 patriarchs of the primordial races communicated secretly. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of barbarians had arrived at Enigma Palace. Leading them was Manhu. Behind Manhu were many barbarian race almighties, and some barbarian race half-martial ancestors. So many progenitor realm experts. When the barbarians arrived at Enigma Palace, they were shocked. Because of the breakthrough of the dragon phoenix true body, they were half a day late and had just arrived. To their surprise, by the time they arrived at the Enigma Palace, the situation had changed rapidly. The conflict had escalated to the point that many progenitors had shown up. The group of dragons followed closely behind, transforming into their human forms and descending one after another. The illumination dragon beneath the dragon phoenix true body was Solitary Cloud, who had once followed him. Behind the dragon phoenix true body were Long Tsang, Long Shi, and the others. Among them, there were even some half-step martial ancestors. Interesting. A patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect sneered. Araki Takashi has 2 true bodies. The true body of the human race has yet to break through to the Mahayana realm, but the dragons have broken through first. I'm a little confused right now. Are you Araki Takashi, a human or a dragon? That sentence was completely heart-wrenching. The dragon phoenix true body turned and looked at the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect, asking expressionlessly, "Were you the one who wanted to kill me earlier on? So what if I was?" When the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect saw that there were many patriarchs around him, he was naturally fearless. He raised his head slightly and retorted fearlessly, "All right." The dragon phoenix true body nodded. "Then I'll kill you first." Before his sentence was finished, the dragon phoenix true body flashed and crossed dozens of feet instantly, arriving before the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect and extending his palm. Clang! 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 Sharp dragon claws flicked out from his fingertips and grabbed towards the head of the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect. The patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect reacted extremely quickly as well, and released a small divine power right away, attacking the dragon phoenix true body. Humph! The dragon phoenix true body smirked and did not dodge. With a gentle swipe of his dragon claws, he shattered the small divine power. The expression of the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect changed starkly, and his pupils constricted. Instinctively, he wanted to summon his destiny dermic weapon. However, the dragon phoenix true body attacked extremely quickly and did not give him a second chance. His palm descended and broke the patriarch's head against the dragon claws of the dragon phoenix true body. The patriarch's body was like paper. It was pierced easily and crushed the patriarch's essence spirit. With his essence spirit destroyed, it was useless even if the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect had any blood rebirth technique. Under countless gazes, the Mahayana patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect was crushed to death by the dragon phoenix true body like an ant. The other patriarchs of Heavenly Dipper sect were not far away, but they could not react in time. They had more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs. Among them, there were even some late-stage Mahayana patriarchs and 3 perfected Mahayana patriarchs. They had not expected that the dragon phoenix true body, which was only at early-stage Mahayana patriarchs, would attack so decisively without any reservations. Patriarch Yuluo, Patriarch Fei Duan, and Patriarch Su Jing were still wary against the dragons. The 3 patriarchs looked at Patriarch Xinyu and the others instinctively. Patriarch Xinyu and the others nodded slightly, indicating that they did not have to worry and could fight to their heart's content. Patriarch Yuluo and the other 2 were relieved. "Should I address you as Araki Takashi or Longemo?" Patriarch Yuluo stroked the kitten in his arms and asked with a fake smile. The dragon phoenix true body's gaze subconsciously fell on the kitten's face and met the white kitten's eyes. For some reason he felt a stir in his heart. It was a feeling that made him extremely uncomfortable. The white kitten did not have any cultivation aura, nor could it speak in human language. However, there was a strange emotion in its eyes. The dragon phoenix true body shook his head gently and did not think too much about it. Sweeping past Patriarch Yuluo and the others, he asked with a cold expression, "Who else wants to kill me?" Humph! A malevolent Earth sect patriarch had already received the order to attack as he pleased. He sneered, "Longemo, don't be arrogant. This is not the Dragonbone Valley. Dragons like you don't have the final say. We were the ones who wanted to kill you earlier on." A patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect stood out and said in a deep voice, "If you still dare to attack, don't blame us for joining forces to suppress you." "All right," the dragon phoenix true body nodded. "Since you guys dare to admit it, I'll dare to kill you." Of course, when the dragon phoenix true body descended upon Enigma Palace, the first thing he did was target Heavenly Dipper sect, Malevolent Earth sect and Punglai Island. It was not only because the 3 major sects wanted to kill Qinglian's true body. Most importantly, the 3 major sects had already submitted to the primordial 6 races. That was something that Su Zimo could not tolerate. Boom! The dragon phoenix true body stomped on the ground and leaped down from the skies. His blood chi surged, and he fell into the crowd. Chapter 1597. The scarlet figure with a violent aura and scarlet hair fell heavily into the crowd. The living beings of the 10,000 races raised their heads instinctively with shocked expressions. The crowd below was not an ordinary crowd, but a crowd of Mahayana patriarchs. They were almost the top experts of Tianhuang mainland. If it were any other time, the appearance of any patriarch would cause the entire cultivation world to tremble. Furthermore, more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs were gathered. Even Patriarch Xunyu and the other 4 of the primordial races did not have the guts and boldness to do so. The might of more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs releasing a small divine power, each was enough to destroy the world. Boom! Crimson flames burned on the body of the dragon phoenix true body. It was like a huge fireball that fell heavily into the crowd. Disperse! Many Mahayana patriarchs could sense the might of the flames on the dragon phoenix true body, and dodged one after another, not daring to take it head-on. Every single one of the Mahayana patriarchs was a paragon or monster incarnate, and had experienced countless life and death battles. Many Mahayana patriarchs stabilized their footing swiftly and surrounded the dragon phoenix true body with cold and murderous expressions. Patriarch Yuluo, Patriarch Fei Duan, and Patriarch Su Jing stood at the periphery without any intention of attacking. Although the primordial races were strong, the dragon phoenix true body was only at early stage Mahayana. In their opinion, more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs were enough to suppress the dragon phoenix true body. Patriarch Su Jing hesitated for a moment. He knew the background of the dragon phoenix true body. However, on second thought, there were many mid-stage and late-stage Mahayana patriarchs among the 100-odd Mahayana patriarchs. Those that could cultivate to late-stage Mahayana would have already comprehended great divine powers. No matter how strong the primordial taboo was, it could not take on everyone single-handedly. If it was a normal primordial taboo, it might not be able to defend against the encirclement of more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs, as they had expected. However, the dragon phoenix true body was not only a taboo. The dragon phoenix true body also possessed Butterfly Moon's inheritance, and cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. That mystic classic helped the dragon phoenix true body awaken an incomparably powerful divine power when it was at the half-martial ancestor realm. Wind summoning, Hell Dao, Hungry Ghost Dao, Landslide, Earth, Thunder Strike, Scorched Earth, Lunar Eclipse. More than 100 Mahayana patriarchs attacked one after another, unleashing their divine abilities. In an instant, more than 100 divine abilities descended, and the entire void collapsed. Cracks appeared and began to distort, setting off layers of storms. It was as if doomsday had arrived. The dragon phoenix true body channeled its blood chi, and the flames in its body spread out, causing the flames to shine brightly. The flames of the dragon phoenix. This was the forbidden dragon phoenix's innate ability. Upon entering the Mahayana realm, the power of that innate divine power was enough to incinerate any lesser divine powers. The cultivation methods of the primordial races and taboos were very different from those of the human race. Because the human race was born weak, they needed to cultivate all kinds of Taoist techniques, secret techniques, and even divine abilities to constantly strengthen themselves. As for the primordial races and taboos, even if they did not cultivate any cultivation techniques, as they continued to grow, their strength would also increase. For example, after the primordial races stepped into the Mahayana realm, even if they did not have to comprehend any minor abilities, their own strength coupled with their innate abilities would allow them to compete with, or even suppress mid-Mahayana human cultivators. Although the attacks of these more than 100 small divine abilities were ferocious, they were instantly incinerated when they encountered the dragon phoenix flame. The dragon phoenix flame was an even more domineering and terrifying flame than the divine phoenix flame. Many Mahayana patriarchs looked at that scene in shock. The combined attack of more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs was neutralized just like that. Roar! The dragon phoenix true body burned with raging flames as it reared its head and roared into the skies, letting out an earth-shattering roar. In the blink of an eye, everything fell silent. Under this roar, the clamorous convention of a myriad races seemed to have fallen into silence. That shocking voice was the only thing left in the ears of the living beings of the myriad races. Against that roar, many living beings could not withstand the pressure, and knelt on the ground one after another. That was a fear that came from the depths of their bloodlines. Even Patriarch Shinyu and the other four felt their hearts skip a beat, and their faces turned pale, let alone them. Some of the Mahayana patriarchs who were closer to them had pained expressions and covered their ears instinctively. However, blood still flowed through the gaps of their fingers. Blood arrows sprayed out of their mouths and noses as well. Bang! 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 Suddenly, 7 to 8 balls of blood mist burst forth from the void around the dragon phoenix true body. The blood of the Mahayana patriarchs splattered, and their blood chi spread. Ah! A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd. These clouds of blood mist exploded all of a sudden. Originally, there was nothing in these places. Some of the blood mists were initially scattered with a piece of gravel or a pile of sand. However, to think that with the roar of the dragon phoenix true body, 7 to 8 Mahayana patriarchs exploded from the gravel and sand in the void. A hint of mockery flashed through the eyes of the dragon phoenix true body. He was not surprised. His spirit perception was strong, and had long sensed that there were some patriarchs hidden near him. Those were the Mahayana patriarchs of Hidden Death Sect. Some of them used concealment divine powers, and hid their auras completely. However, some of them used the 36 transformations and transformed into gravel and soil that scattered around the dragon phoenix true body, searching for an opportunity to assassinate. The 36 transformations was a minor divine power. After comprehending that minor divine power, a patriarch could transform into many things. As long as he willed it, it would not be a problem for him to transform into mountains, rivers, wooden stakes, rocks, and even utensils. However, it would not be possible for him to transform into living things such as birds, beasts, plants, and insects. If he wanted to transform more, he would have to comprehend the 72 transformations. The 72 transformations belong to the category of great divine powers. Naturally, it was not difficult for him to transform into birds, beasts, plants, and insects. Of course, be it the 36 transformations or 72 transformations, there were flaws in transformation techniques. Furthermore, even the 72 transformations could not transform into a living person. The pinnacle of transformation was a peerless divine power, infinite transformations. To comprehend this skill, there was nothing that could not be changed. From the Kuan race to the dragon race to the smallest speck of dust, everything could be changed with a single thought. After comprehending that divine power, one could even transform into the same person. Even if two people were placed together, others would not be able to tell which was the real one. The few Mahayana patriarchs of Hidden Death Sect thought that they could hide in the chaos by releasing their concealment divine powers, the 36 transformations. However, they did not expect the spirit perception of the dragon phoenix true body to be so strong that a single roar caused the bodies of the few Hidden Death Sect patriarchs to explode. The cultivators of Hidden Death Sect specialized in assassination, and their blood chi and bodies were inferior. They could not withstand the roar of the dragon phoenix true body at all. Shoo! 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 The essence spirits of 8 Hidden Death Sect patriarchs escaped, and wanted to be reborn from a drop of blood. Roar! The dragon phoenix true body opened its mouth and roared again. Poof! 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 The essence spirits of the 8 Hidden Death Sect patriarchs exploded, and turned into nothingness. 8 Mahayana patriarchs were dead. Chapter 1598. Kill. Many Mahayana patriarchs were stunned for a moment before shouting one after another. Once again, they released many divine powers and summoned dharmic treasures that smashed towards the dragon phoenix true body. Shoo! 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 Many flying swords transformed into streams of light and sped over at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, they arrived before him with sharp sword chi. The dragon phoenix true body sneered, and with a single thought, a long saber with a chilling aura appeared in his palm. Dragon Soul Saber. The Dragon Soul Saber was a dermic weapon to begin with. However, after the Dragon Phoenix true body entered the Mahayana realm, he rushed all the way here and tempered it with the power of divine powers, raising the quality of the Dragon Soul Saber to the level of a dermic treasure. Su Zimo gripped the Dragon Soul Saber tightly and raised his arm. His blood chi surged, and he slashed forward viciously. Swoosh! When the saber slashed down, a torrential wave seemed to appear before the eyes of many Mahayana patriarchs. Countercurrent of the sea calming 5 stances. All of a sudden, instantly, the color of the gigantic wave turned blood red. The ocean had already turned into a sea of blood with a chilling killing intent. Su Zimo's slash had already fused the countercurrent and Shura saber intents together, and released an extremely terrifying impact. Although the flying swords were sharp, the light on them dimmed after passing through the sea of blood. Clang! 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 The Dragon Soul Saber descended and slashed the flying swords. The surrounding dermic treasures had already attacked as well. There were majestic mountains, resplendent jade hooks, ghostly and elusive silver needles, sparkling mirrors. Many dermic treasures descended and covered the skies, almost forming an inescapable net. The Dragon Phoenix true body's expression was unchanged, as he gripped the Dragon Soul Saber tightly with both hands, and slashed towards the void beside him. Rumble! Boom! Boom! The surrounding sea of blood was swept by the saber, and formed a gigantic blood vortex that surged into the skies. It circled around Su Zimo with a terrifying might. Many dermic treasures descended and fell into the blood vortex, deviating from their trajectories. All the dermic treasures missed. The blood sea vortex became more turbulent and stronger. In the end, even the figure of the Dragon Phoenix true body had disappeared in the blood sea. Immediately after, the roars of dragons, tigers, apes, and phoenixes resounded from the blood sea vortex. Terrifying figures were faintly discernible behind blood sea, as though many domineering and ferocious demon kings had awakened. Rich and pure demonic chi burst forth endlessly from the blood sea vortex, blanketing the skies above Enigma Palace. The next moment, massive demon beasts rushed out of the sea of blood and charged toward the Mahayana realm patriarchs. There was a wild ox demon king plowing through the heavens. There was also the blood ape demon king pounding his chest and roaring. There was a demon king divine chariot charging forward. There was the desolate sea dragon king, who could overturn rivers and seas. Every single terrifying demon king had ferocious claws and fangs. They were lifelike and had bloodshot eyes. Their killing intent surged and their auras were torrential. These demon kings charged into the crowd and unleashed extremely shocking lethality. A Mahayana realm patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect channeled his divine powers, wanting to push back the stone bear demon king that was charging over. However, his divine powers did not cause any ripples when they landed on the stone bear demon king, and were easily resolved by the thick fur of the latter. Although the stone bear demon king's body seemed clumsy and massive, it arrived before the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect in the blink of an eye and leaned forward. That was a killing move from the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the Great Wilderness. It was released by the stone bear demon king in a fluid manner that was even more charming. In his shock, the Mahayana realm patriarch's body exploded instantly. He was smashed into pieces by the stone bear demon king's gentle lean. Before his essence spirit could escape, the stone bear demon king extended his massive bear paw and slapped down, killing the essence spirit of the Heavenly Dipper sect patriarch. Another malevolent earth sect patriarch wanted to make use of his dharma treasure and divine powers to kill the incoming anaconda. However, the anaconda coiled and coiled around the malevolent earth sect patriarch swiftly. It exerted strength with its body and minced the body of a Mahayana realm patriarch into pieces. Exclamation point. The anaconda demon king opened its mouth and devoured the malevolent earth sect patriarch. There was no chance for his essence spirit to escape. Heavens! What are these? The crowd exclaimed. All the living beings present were dumbfounded, their faces filled with shock. Although they had all heard of the Dragon Phoenix true body, not many of them had seen the means of the Dragon Phoenix true body. This should be Long Mo's bloodline phenomenon. A cultivator who had experienced the battle of Heaven and Earth Valley said sternly, However, the cultivator paused for a moment before continuing. This bloodline phenomenon seems to be even more terrifying than the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley. I've also noticed that the number of demon kings seems to be one more than the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley. In the crowd, a six-tusked divine elephant rampaged and none of the Mahayana realm patriarchs could stop it. Its four legs galloped and the ground quaked as dust billowed. Even some late-stage Mahayana realm patriarchs could not defend against the impact of the six-tusked divine elephant in terms of strength. With the swing of its trunk, a Mahayana realm patriarch would definitely fall from midair. The tusks of the elephant danced and were sharper than any Dharma treasure. The first cultivator pointed to a flash of golden light in the skies and suddenly said, "It's not just one. There are two more." Screech! A sharp and loud howl sounded from the firmaments. A golden light descended into the crowd at an alarming speed. The Mahayana realm patriarchs below could not react at all. The true form of the golden light was a golden-winged great rock. Two claws swiped down in the crowd and tore through the heads of two patriarchs with incomparable precision, killing their essence spirits instantly. Two Mahayana realm patriarchs died on the spot. The reason why the dragon phoenix true body attacked this time round was to establish his might, intimidate and sacrifice his saber. He wanted to tell the people of Heavenly Dipper Sect, Malevolent Earth Sect, and Punglai Island that they would not be able to survive even if they submitted to the primordial six races. The dragon phoenix true body did not test the waters with the Mahayana realm patriarchs and released his bloodline phenomenon right away. 11 demon kings charged into the crowd and massacred in all directions. Nobody could stop them. Even some late-stage Mahayana realm patriarchs did not dare to face them head-on. On the battlefield, blood spewed and severed limbs flew everywhere in a tragic manner. That was not the blood of ordinary cultivators. It was the blood of Mahayana realm patriarchs. This scene was even more tragic than when the patriarchs of the primordial 5 races fought against the 17 Mahayana realm patriarchs of Enigma Palace. Just now, Enigma Palace only lost 7 Mahayana realm patriarchs. With the attack of the dragon phoenix true body, 11 demon kings charged into the crowd and started a massacre. The number of Mahayana realm patriarchs of Heavenly Dipper Sect, Punglai Island and Malevolent Earth Sect decreased drastically. In just dozens of breaths, there were less than 100 Mahayana realm patriarchs left in the 3 super sects. There were even more injured patriarchs. To the 3 super sects, this was simply an unacceptable loss. The reason why they chose to submit to the primordial 6 races was to save their lives. However, they did not expect to die even faster. Patriarch Yuluo, Patriarch Fei Duan, and Patriarch Su Jing were enraged. They could not watch any longer and attacked one after another. Chapter 1599. All 3 of them were at the perfected Mahayana realm. If they wanted to cultivate to the perfected Mahayana realm, they would have to comprehend at least 10 great divine powers. The bloodline, body and essence spirit of Patriarch Yuluo, and the other 2 had undergone the baptism of so many great divine powers, and their combat strength was countless times higher than the other patriarchs. Patriarch Yuluo summoned his destiny dermic treasure, a sword made of stellar meteorite metal. It was extremely heavy and shone with starlight as it descended from the skies like a meteor. Boom! The stellar sword descended and pierced the body of the Anaconda Demon King, pinning it to the ground. The Anaconda Demon King struggled with all its might and roared into the skies. However, it could not break free no matter what. Before long, the light of the Anaconda Demon King dimmed, and its blood chi deteriorated before dissipating from the world. Those demon kings did not descend with their true bodies to begin with. It was merely the bloodline phenomenon of the dragon phoenix true body. Exclamation point. Patriarch Fei Duan summoned a fiend saber and severed the head of the wild bull demon king. The wild bull demon king dissipated as well. Patriarch Su Jing summoned a gigantic pair of gold and silver WRM scissors. In midair, it could even conjure 2 WRMs. Snap! Snap! The gold and silver WRM scissors were extremely sharp. Accompanied by a crisp sound, The scissors closed and cut the golden-winged great rock that was streaking through the air into two, turning it into nothingness. After charging for a while, the other demon kings were attacked by the divine powers and dharmic treasures of the Mahayana patriarchs. They were on the verge of collapse and were no longer feared. Heavenly Dog devours the moon. Patriarch Yuluo's gaze landed on the dragon phoenix true body and released a great divine power without hesitation. In the blink of an eye, a gigantic heavenly dog appeared before her. It had a ferocious gaze and sticky saliva flowed from its mouth as it glared at the dragon phoenix true body not far away. Clearly, the heavenly dog had already treated the dragon phoenix true body as the moon. It wanted to devour the dragon phoenix true body. Malevolent spirit descent. Patriarch Fei Duan hollered and released a great divine power as well. He channeled his spirit consciousness as though it was connected to the nine hells. A sinister, pitch-black malevolent chi surged beneath his feet and condensed into a gigantic figure. It was as if a demon had crawled out from the depths of hell. A series of low growls came from the depths of the tormented spirit's throat. As long as Patriarch Fei Duan activated his spirit consciousness, the tormented spirit would lunge towards the dragon phoenix true body and tear it into pieces. Sea-breaking slash. Patriarch Su Jing waved his hand, forming a long saber that slashed down at Su Zimo. As the saying goes, draw a knife and cut off water. The eruption of this great divine ability could even split the ocean into two, let alone water. The dragon phoenix true body was fearless, and its eyes were like torches. Although the 11 demon kings had been defeated, the demonic aura did not dissipate. It surged toward the dragon phoenix true body, changing and condensing behind him. Gradually, a terrifying creature was born from the crimson demonic chi. It was a butterfly. The butterfly spread its blood-colored wings and hovered above Su Zimo's head. Two bright full moons were imprinted on its wings, resembling a pair of cold eyes that glared at Patriarch Yuluo and the other two. This butterfly was only about 10 feet in size. No matter how one looked at it, it looked ordinary. However, for some reason, when the blood-colored butterfly appeared, Patriarch Yuluo and the other two, including Patriarch Xinyu and the other two, felt an inexplicable sense of trepidation. It was as though a calamity was about to befall them in the next moment. The heavenly hound was only formed from a great divine ability and did not have intelligence at all. It still charged towards the dragon phoenix true body with a murderous aura. The tormented spirit swayed its gigantic body and pounced forward as well. In midair, a biting cold saber light descended, as though it wanted to cut the vast ocean into two. All of a sudden, the blood-colored butterfly above the dragon phoenix true body flapped its wings gently. This trembling was so fine that it was almost undetectable. However, it triggered a shocking storm. The void in front of the dragon phoenix true body was distorting, transforming, collapsing and collapsing. The heavenly hound that pounced over had already arrived in front of the dragon phoenix true body. Even the dragon phoenix true body could clearly smell the stench coming out of the dog's mouth. However, the moment the blood-colored butterfly flapped its wings, the heavenly hound paused in midair. Immediately after, cracks began to appear on the heavenly hound's body. Initially, it was still a small crack. However, it expanded rapidly and covered its entire body. Right in front of everyone, the heavenly hound exploded and turned into nothingness. The tormented spirit let out a shrill roar as well. Before it could approach, its entire body was riddled with holes, and its murderous aura dissipated. The stunning saber light that could cut the ocean into two dissipated after the blood butterfly flapped its wings. The three great divine abilities were blocked by the blood-colored butterfly. Pust! The living beings of the 10,000 races gasped in shock. The dragon phoenix true body was only at the early stage Mahayana realm, but it could fight against a perfected Mahayana human. This had already exceeded everyone's understanding. The pupils of Patriarch Yuluo and the other two constricted, and their expressions changed as well. Those were three great divine abilities. Yet, they were easily resolved by a blood-colored butterfly. What sort of method was that? The three of them were bewildered and a hint of fear appeared in their eyes. As expected of a taboo bloodline, Patriarch Su Jing was secretly shocked. and stole a glance at Patriarch Yu Luo and Patriarch Fei Duan. He was already thinking of retreating. The other Mahayana patriarchs had already dispersed far away, and did not dare to approach. Furthermore, they were prepared to escape at any moment. They could already tell that the Dragon Phoenix true body was not something they could fight against. One had to experience countless dangers in order to cultivate to the Mahayana realm. None of them wanted to die here. Right then, the blood-colored butterfly above the head of the Dragon Phoenix true body dissipated gradually and vanished as well. The cultivation realm of the Dragon Phoenix true body was still too low, and had only just entered the early stage Mahayana realm. The fact that the blood-colored butterfly could defend against 3 great divine abilities was entirely due to the power of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. That was its limit. Patriarch Yu Luo's expression was cold as she stroked the white cat in her arms gently. Even in the midst of this battle, she did not abandon the white cat, and hugged it the entire time. That was because the white cat was her trump card to deal with Araki Takashi. Initially, she was not in a hurry to use it. However, the strength of the Dragon Phoenix true body had already exceeded her expectations, and she did not want to wait any longer. Araki Takashi. Patriarch Yu Luo lowered her head slightly and stroked the white cat in her arms, smiling gently. Take a guess. What's the background of this white cat? The Dragon Phoenix true body narrowed his eyes slightly. Just now, he could sense that there was something wrong with the white cat. However, he could not tell what it was exactly. Come to think of it, it was a coincidence, Patriarch Yu Luo said softly. I came out of seclusion and was prepared to participate in the convention of the myriad races. On the way, I bumped into a young lady with decent potential and wanted to take her in as a disciple. To think that the young lady already had a master and rejected me without hesitation. As a Mahayana patriarch, it's rare for me to have the intention to take in a disciple. However, I was rejected. Wouldn't I be a joke if word got out? Patriarch Yu Luo smiled gently. I was a little angry, so I cast a divine ability on her and turned her into a white cat to calm her down. When he heard that, the expression of the Dragon Phoenix true body darkened completely. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.